Hello, my wonderful people of the internet. Over here, practically vibrating with excitement in our cozy little corner of chaos. Before we dive into today's grand adventure, I have to tell you about my week. I attempted to bake a surprise cake for Leo. It was supposed to be a majestic chocolate tower. Well, it ended up looking like a slightly enthusiastic, leaning piece of tower made of cocoa world, brought to you by the fantasiously collapsed.
Mira, I can always count on you to turn a kitchen catastrophe into performance art. You're right, I did get a surprise. I mean, I'm still wondering if it was an abstract sculpture or just a very emotional dessert. I walked in unthought. Did a chocolate meteor just hit your kitchen, Mira? Honestly, your optimism could sell me a bridge in the desert. But hey, at least you keep things interesting, right? No dull moments around here.
Oh, you. My chocolate meteor was full of love, you know. Speaking of unexpected journeys, today we're taking you on a comparative exploration that's truly going to clear up some big decisions. We're pitching two incredible, sun-drenched nations against each other, Panama versus Saint Lucia. Wow. From the bustling canals of Panama to the serene pitons of Saint Lucia, we're going to uncover everything.
That's right. If you've ever found yourself scrolling through travel blogs late at night whispering, Panama or St. Lucia? Which one calls to my soul, or more likely, which one's got better coffee? Then you're precisely where you need to be. We're here to answer all those burning questions. Which country is a better fit for a new life? Which one's got the vibe for your next big move, or maybe even your wedding? Whoa, we're talking details so granular, you'll feel like you've already bought the plane ticket.
Absolutely. This isn't just a casual chat, it's a comprehensive guide for anyone dreaming of moving, marrying, or simply visiting one of these magnificent places. We'll delve into everything from lifestyle and culture to opportunities and what makes each unique. Our goal is to hand you the blueprint to make your perfect choice, so you don't end up with a surprise like my cake, but a delightful, well-planned adventure.
And trust me, you don't want a surprise cake situation when it comes to relocating your entire life. Oops, we're going to peel back the layers and give you the real scoop. So whether you're a digital nomad, a retiree seeking paradise, or just someone who enjoys a good comparison, this is for you. Also, a quick shout out to Jet AI, who made this entire exploration possible. They're like the invisible architects behind our podcast studio. Without them, we'd probably be broadcasting from a fort made of pillows.
Don't forget, dear listeners, if you're enjoying our banter and getting some valuable insights, please do hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Oh, it helps us bring you more of these lively comparisons. And seriously, drop a comment below, tell us which country you're leaning towards, or if you've had your own piece of cake moments. We love hearing from you.
Your comments aren't just appreciated, they're often the inspiration for our next bit of observational comedy. So get those fingers typing, because we're about to make your decision-making journey a whole lot clearer and a lot more entertaining. Let's explore these two incredible destinations, Panama and St. Lucia.
All right, Leo, since we just talked about the beauty of packing light for a spontaneous trip, let's dive into something that makes people either pack too much pepper spray or too little common sense: general safety and crime rates in Panama and St. Lucia.
Oh, a classic. I'm certain that our listeners living in these countries are already mentally preparing their defenses. You know, Mira, I always say a good comedian needs to observe everything, even the shadows, and crime rates are definitely a shadow we shouldn't ignore, right? But seriously, Panama City, right? Everyone's thinking gleaming skyscrapers and canals. Wow.
Animal, with its impressive skyline and the famous canal, often gives off a very modern vibe. And for the most part, in areas like El Canji or Ijo or Casco Viejo, you do feel quite safe, especially during the day. Oh, but you know me. I always have a story. I once heard about someone getting their phone borrowed by a very fast-moving hand near a crowded market. Oops. They said the thief had Olympic level sprinting skills.
See, that's what I mean. My own observational skills tell me that any place with a crowded market is essentially a pickpocket's playground. I imagine them doing little warm-up stretches before they dive in. But on a serious note, some areas in Panama City, like parts of San Miguelia or El Carrillo, are less safe due to gang activity. Ouch. It's not usually where tourists wander, but it's important to know the difference, right? You won't find me practicing my stand-up routine there.
It's like knowing which neighborhoods to visit for the best street food and which ones to admire from a distance. But speaking of distances, let's hop over to Saint Lucia. It's such a picturesque island, all volcanic peaks and turquoise waters. Oh, you'd think crime would just pack its bags and leave, considering the views.
If only. My friend, you'd think the beauty would just mesmerize everyone in the peaceful coexistence. But even in paradise, the occasional snake slithers in, right? St. Lucia is generally considered safe for tourists, especially within the resorts. But I'm actually curious about what our listeners who visited St. Lucia think about this. Because from what I've heard, petty theft from hotel rooms or bags left unattended on beaches can be an issue. Ouch. It's like, you go to relax. It's like, you go to relax, and suddenly you're Wallex.
Oh, that's just typical. You're sipping a delicious fruit cocktail. Admiring the pitons, and someone's making off with your designer sunglasses. Oops. But seriously, I think for solo female travelers especially, exercising extra caution at night in St. Lucia, away from well-lit areas, is a smart move. It's not about fear. It's about being street smart, even on a beach.
Exactly. It's like my rule for coffee. If it's too good to be true, it's probably just a regular coffee. Similarly, if a secluded beach looks too idyllic and empty, maybe there's a reason for that. Always trust your gut, right? It's about taking basic precautions like not flashing expensive items. You know, like not wearing a crown to the supermarket. Let us know in the comments if you've ever had a crown moment that went wrong.
Oh, Leo, you're priceless. A crown to the supermarket. I can just imagine you doing that for material. But speaking of precautions, both countries see a certain level of drug-related crime, which, while not usually targeting tourists directly, can spill over. It's a global issue, sadly. So, always be aware of your surroundings, no matter how beautiful the scenery is.
Indeed. It's like watching a really engaging movie, but you still have to keep an eye on your popcorn to make sure no one's swiping it. And both Panama and Sense is your best travel companion. Don't leave valuables unattended. Avoid walking alone late at night in unlit areas. And certainly, don't engage with anything that feels sketchy. I'm certain that our listeners would agree with me on that. For more detailed safety tips when planning your next adventure to these beautiful places, you can always check out Off AISA.
Because at the end of the day, we want people to have amazing trips, full of laughter and incredible memories, not, oh, remember that time my passport vanished stories. And remember, if you found this conversation helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us keep bringing you these deep dives into countries around the world.
And maybe even find my next cup of coffee, without which this podcast might just be 30 minutes of me mumbling incoherently. So, in summary, for general safety and crime rates in Panama and Saint Lucia, it's not a tale of two war zones, but a tale of two war zones. But a tale of two stunning destinations where common sense and basic vigilance are your golden tickets to a worry-free vacation. Ha! Don't let the beauty blind you, friends.
Alright, so speaking of things that make you feel all warm and fuzzy, let's dive into political stability and social harmony for Panama and St. Lucia. For me, the idea of a stable place where everyone gets along, that's like a perfectly choreographed dance number, everyone in sync. How do these two nations stack up on that front?
Well, a perfectly choreographed dance number sometimes has a few clumsy steps, doesn't it? Hasn't it? Panama, for instance, on paper, it's a constitutional democracy. Sounds solid, right? But history's got its own script. Remember those little interventions that involved a certain canal and some very specific foreign policy decisions? Whoa, I'm certain that our listeners familiar with Panamanian history would nod knowingly right now.
Oh, come on. Leo, you're making it sound like a spy movie. While Panama's past certainly has its dramatic twists and turns, they've actually built a pretty resilient democratic system. Since the early 92nds, they've had regular, peaceful elections. It's not all poke and dagger, you know. Think of it as a nation that learned a lot from its historical blockbusters.
True. They've certainly refined their voting choreography. But even a stable democracy can have its little performance art moments, right? You get your occasional protests about, corruption, social issues, the usual human drama.
Well, that's just people having a voice, Leo. And speaking of voices, Panama is a real melting pot, full of different cultures indigenous, Afro-Panamanian, Chinese, you name it. And yet, they generally manage to coexist peacefully. It's like a giant, delicious fusion dish, everyone bringing their own flavor without clashing too much. Haha, what do you think about that? Our wonderful audience. Do you agree that cultural diversity makes a country more vibrant?
A fusion dish, you say? Sometimes a fusion dish can give you a bit of an upset stomach if you're not careful. While it's true, the diversity is rich, I've observed that economic inequality can sometimes be the spice that causes a little burn. Not everyone gets an equal share of that canal's prosperity. It's a subtle tension, like a comedian walking a tightrope. You usually don't fall, but everyone's holding their breath just a little. Wow.
You're always finding the tiny cracks in the sidewalk, aren't you? Let's shut off from Panama for a moment and look at Saint Lucia. This little island paradise is a parliamentary democracy, a constitutional monarchy, and it's been rock solid since its independence in 1979. Peaceful elections, smooth transitions, they make it look easy. No major drama there, just sun and smiles.
St. Lucia. So stable, so serene, so predictable. From a comedian's perspective, sometimes I wish for a little more political chaos to draw material from. But I suppose stability is good for the citizens, not just as joke makers. They're part of CARICOM and OECS too, which means they got regional pals looking out for them. It's like they've got a whole squad dedicated to staying calm. For more calm insights and structured data, check out Jet-Off AI, where things are usually less chaotic than my mind.
You're unbelievable, Leo. But that's part of Saint Lucia's charm, that strong sense of community and social cohesion. Despite relying heavily on tourism, which can have its ups and downs, the people really stick together. It's like a big family, celebrating the good times and supporting each other through the not so good. Oh, I find it incredibly heartwarming.
Heartwarming, she says. And while that's all lovely, even in a big, happy family, there are always those awkward holiday dinner conversations. Oh, economic challenges, like the decline of their banana industry. It's a stress point. A wrinkle in the fabric of harmony. But they do manage to keep a stiff upper lip, or perhaps a cheerfully smiling one. It's not the kind of thing that makes headlines, which means good for them, boring for me.
Well, maybe boring is what people need sometimes, Leo. Less drama, more dancing. Both countries navigate their paths to stability and harmony in unique ways. It's clear that Saint Lucia has a very strong community bond, while Panama has built a sturdy democratic framework despite its past. So, whether you prefer your peace with a side of historical intrigue or wrapped in a serene island breeze, both offer something to admire. Speaking of journeys, let's talk about whether those journeys might actually cost us something. Or, perhaps, save us a few pennies. We're diving into economic conditions and cost of living for our two fabulous contenders today, Panama and Saint Lucia. I'm pretty sure my wallet is holding its breath.
Ooh, the dreaded wallet check, Mira? I can practically hear it whimpering from here. Panama. Now that's a country where the economy isn't just humming along, it's practically a financial rock concert. Thanks to that famous canal. It's a hub for finance and logistics, which means money is certainly flowing. But what about the cost of catching some of that flow?
Well, if you're like me and your dream is to live in a place where the dollars just flow into your pocket, Panama City might feel like a mini New York without the extreme winter coat budget. I mean, you've got skyscrapers, vibrant expat communities, and a lifestyle that can be quite comfortable if you're earning in, let's say, US dollars. It's not exactly bargain bin cheap, but it's certainly not breaking the bank like some places. I'm certain that our listeners in Panama would agree. It's about balance.
Mini New York is one way to put it, Mira. Or perhaps a tropical concrete jungle where the prices still bite. My observations suggest that while Panama City offers solid job prospects in its booming sectors, finance, shipping, even tourism, you'll need to speak Spanish if you want to be more than just a permanent tourist. And that fancy apartment in the city center. Ouch. Your wallet will definitely feel that sting. As for Saint Lucia, it's a completely different rhythm, wouldn't you say?
Wow. It's true, Saint Lucia is less about the bustling city and more about the serene, stunning beaches. But all that beauty comes at a price. Their economy relies heavily on tourism, which means if you're buying local produce, you might get a good deal, but imported goods, well, you'll feel like you're paying for them to be personally flown in by a tiny, very expensive pigeon. I'm actually curious about what our listeners who've lived there think about this. Drop your comments on YouTube, folks.
Tiny, very expensive pigeon transport. I'll remember that one, Mira. You're spot on. St. Lucia's reliance on imports means that while the scenery is priceless, a lot of everyday items are anything but. Ouch. If you're an expat, securing a good salary in a tourism-related field can offset some of that. But local job opportunities can be seasonal, like a summer romance that fades with the autumn leaves.
Oh, don't be such a drama king, Leo. You've got a point about the seasonal shifts. For anyone thinking of making a move, remember to check Jet Off AI for detailed insights on both countries. They break down average salaries and living costs beautifully. It's like having a financial map to navigate these two stunning destinations.
A financial map I'd probably spill coffee on knowing my luck. Oops, but yes, Getafe, I is your friend, folks. Back to Panama, though. While Panama City can be pricey, I've heard stories of expats finding much more affordable living just outside the capital or in smaller towns. It's all about trading a skyscraper view for a greener, slower pace. Oh, it's like choosing between a high-energy stand-up show and a quiet, contemplative coffee. Both have their merits. But one requires more caffeine.
And you know which one requires more coffee, don't you, Leo? The point is, both countries offer a spectrum. If you're savvy, you can find your sweet spot. Panama has a dollarized economy, which provides a certain stability many expats appreciate. Saint Lucia, while perhaps pricier for some items, offers a unique lifestyle where the cost of happiness might be a bit lower because, well, those beaches. Well, if you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments section on YouTube. We love hearing your perspective.
Ah, the elusive cost of happiness. That's a concept I could write a whole stand-up routine about, Mira. But truly, for long-term expats, understanding the local job market is crucial. In Panama, you're looking at a diverse, growing economy with opportunities in specific sectors. In Saint Lucia, it's more concentrated around tourism and hospitality. So, do you want to manage a bank or a boutique resort?
Exactly. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the lifestyle those numbers support. Both Panama and Saint Lucia have their economic strengths and unique cost structures. And for anyone doing their homework, whether for travel or relocation, sites like Getafe are invaluable for getting the real scoop. So, remember to give this podcast a like on YouTube if you're enjoying our little financial deep dive. Oh.
A financial deep dive that hopefully won't drown your budgets. So, to wrap up our economic talk, Panama offers a robust, dollarized economy with a higher cost of living in its financial hub, while St. Lucia provides breathtaking beauty with a slightly higher price tag for imported goods due to its tourism-dependent nature. Choose wisely, friends, and remember to factor in your preferred pace of life.
Leo, last time we were talking about... Oh, what were we talking about? I remember. It was something about... Well, anyway, let's just jump into our next topic today. Accommodation options and quality for Panama and St. Lucia. Well, I'm already imagining colorful beach houses.
Mira, that's what we call a smooth transition in the podcast world. Oops. And then, like you're playing a mental hide and seek. Wow, but yes, accommodation options and quality, a crucial one for anyone dreaming of moving or even just visiting.
Right, and for me, accommodation isn't just a place to sleep, it's part of the adventure. Oh, like, will I find a giant pineapple-shaped villa or a house where the walls are made of mango peels? Speaking of adventures, let's start with Panama. What's the housing scene like there?
Well, Panama's like a tale of two cities, or rather, a city and everything else. In Panama City, you'll find skyscrapers reaching for the clouds, often filled with luxury condos. Wow, it's very modern, almost a mini Miami with a tropical twist. I've seen some apartments with views that would make a postcard blush.
If I want to live like a city queen with a view of endless concrete and maybe a few palm trees peeking out, Panama City is my spot. Ooh, and are these sky palaces affordable, or do I need to sell a kidney to get one? Ouch. I'm actually curious about what our listeners, especially those who've lived there, think.
Well, a kidney might be a bit much, but your wallet will definitely feel lighter. Compared to major US cities, you can often get more bang for your buck in Panama City for a luxury rental. Wow! But don't expect bargain basement prices in the prime areas. It's all about location, 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 and whether you want a pool on your balcony. Ah, outside the city, things shift. You're looking at more traditional homes, maybe beach houses. Less concrete. More sand in your shoes kind of living.
Ah, sand in your shoes sounds more my style. Oh, less concrete jungle. And more palm tree playground. So, if I'm not into the high-rise life, what about Saint Lucia? I'm picturing vibrant, pastel-colored houses.
Whoa, you've got the picture exactly right, Mira. St. Lucia is a completely different vibe. Less steel and glass, more tropical charm. You'll find a lot of villas, guest houses, and resort-style accommodations. Many are built with tourism in mind, so you'll see those brightly colored, Caribbean-style homes with wide verandas. Ooh.
Pandas! That sounds perfect for dancing when no one's watching. So, are we talking about luxurious villas for everyone, or can a budget ballerina like me find something affordable without living in a treehouse? Although, a treehouse does sound like an adventure.
A treehouse might be pushing it, but your budget will largely dictate your view of the ocean. Oh, beachfront villas are gorgeous, but they come with a hefty price tag.
Charming Rustic is my middle name when I'm traveling. So, Panama's giving us city sleek, and St. Lucia's offering tropical quaint. What about the housing standards? Are we talking about Insta-ready homes, or ones that need a bit of Mira's magic touch to be camera-worthy? Wow.
In Panama City, new developments are generally top-notch things, modern appliances, good security, and well-maintained common areas. Ah, but if you go for older buildings, you might encounter some character that needs a bit of TLC. It's like finding a vintage jacket, could be a treasure, could be a project. St. Lucia standards are usually geared towards tourists, so cleanliness and basic amenities are often good, but perhaps not the futuristic tech you'd find in a high-rise.
Futuristic tech is just another thing to break, right? You'd prefer a good old-fashioned hammock over a smart home any day. Oh, so it sounds like Panama offers more of that turquoise modern expat experience, while St. Lucia is for those who embrace the island life with all its colorful quirks. Wow, I'd love to hear from our audience. If you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments, are you a skyscraper dweller? Or a beach shack dreamer?
Beach shack dreamer. I like that. Ooh, I'm picturing you with a coconut in hand, trying to teach the local crabs to salsa. And for those considering buying property, Panama has a pretty straightforward process for foreigners, especially for residential property. St. Lucia also welcomes for an investment in real estate, particularly in tourist-centric developments.
Whether you're looking to rent a sleek condo in Panama City or a cozy villa on St. Lucia's coast, both have options. Aha, it really comes down to your preferred flavor of paradise, doesn't it? And for more details on these countries, or if you're trying to figure out which flavor suits you best, remember you can always check out Jet or Faye for deeper dives into all things travel and living abroad. Oh.
Absolutely, Mira. It's a choice between the buzz of a dynamic urban center with easy international connections or the serene, natural beauty of an island haven. Each country offers distinct living experiences. It's about figuring out if you want a balcony overlooking a bustling city or one gazing out at turquoise waters. And no, Mira, the water won't judge your dancing.
Ugh. We're diving into the wonderful world of paperwork and permissions today, aren't we? Our topic is ease of visa, immigration, and official procedures for Panama and St. Lucia. Honestly, sometimes I feel like governments just want to test our patience, like a super secret endurance challenge. Wow.
Patience? Mira, that's optimism. I think they just enjoy watching us slowly age in line. Speaking of aging, I once lost 3 years of my life trying to renew a library card. Oops. Anyway, Panama, you'd think a country with such a bustling canal would have a really smooth flow for people too, right?
You'd hope so. Whoa, but Panama, bless its heart, actually has some pretty clear-cut paths for immigration. They've got a few well-known options. For instance, there's the Friendly Nations visa, which used to be a big deal. Then it got tweaked a bit, but it still helps citizens from certain countries get residency. Oh, it's like they're saying, come on over, we like you.
We like you. But first, fill out this mountain of forms and get it notarized by 3 different mythical creatures. Panama also has a pension and due visa for retirees. Imagine retiring to a place where your biggest daily concern is whether to have another cup of coffee or switch to a fresh one. Sounds like my kind of dream, honestly. And the official procedures, from what I've heard, are mostly bureaucratic but manageable if you have patience and, let's be honest, a good local lawyer.
A good local lawyer is like finding a unicorn in the paperwork forest, right? I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama would agree with me on that one. For Saint Lucia, though, it feels a little less like a bureaucratic maze and more like a gentle island breeze guiding you through. Ooh, their approach, especially for tourists, is quite welcoming.
A gentle island breeze. That still requires you to find your passport. Oops. Seriously though, Saint Lucia is big on tourism, so they make it pretty easy for short-term visitors. Most nationalities can enter visa-free for up to 6 weeks, sometimes even 90 days. It's more about show up, get stamped, and enjoy the sun, which I appreciate. My kind of procedure. Whoa. They also have a popular citizenship by investment program. If you've got enough cash.
Citizenship by investment just sounds like a very fancy way to say welcome if you bring us a really nice gift basket. But it's true. For those looking for a long-term move to Saint Lucia, that's one of the clearer, albeit pricier, routes. They also have various work permits for specific employment, but the overall feeling is less about endless loops of paperwork and more about clearly defined categories.
Less endless loops, more, we'll get to it when the tide comes in. But hey, if you're thinking of moving, remember to check official government websites, not just some random blog post from guy who sold his socks to live on an island. And when we upload this episode to YouTube, make sure to drop a comment if you've navigated these waters yourself. Ooh, we always appreciate first-hand accounts.
Absolutely. We love hearing from you all. Speaking of real-life stories, a friend of mine went to Panama, and he said getting his residency permit felt like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded at a salsa competition. It eventually clicked. But there was a lot of spinning and some accidental hip shaking involved. Wow.
I can just picture that. Meanwhile, in Saint Lucia, I imagine the immigration officer just says, "Welcome. Here's your punch. Try not to get sin in your passport." Though to be fair, even Paradise has its forms. They have a fairly straightforward application process for residency if you're not going the investment route, but it's often tied to employment or owning property. They're more laid back, but still want to know you're not just there to steal all the mangoes.
Mangoes are a serious business, Leo. Ooh. It's also worth noting that for both countries, being prepared with all your documents, even ones you think aren't necessary, can save you a lot of headaches. A friend once told me she brought her grandmother's birth certificate to an interview, just in case they needed to verify my lineage for mango picking rights.
Oh, the ancestral mango picking rights are crucial, Mira. Whoa, that's exactly the kind of preparedness that saves you from becoming an old man stuck in a line for coffee joke, or worse, my next stand-up material. On a serious note, for anyone looking for specific details, our website, Jet Off AI, offers deeper dives into these procedures. It's a goldmine of information without the comedic interpretation, unfortunately.
Don't worry, Leo, we provide the comedic interpretation right here. Aha! So, whether you're heading to Panama with its slightly more complex, yet navigable, procedures or to Saint Lucia with its easier tourist entry and clear residency paths, remember that patience is your best friend, and perhaps a few funny stories to tell afterwards. Ooh.
And always a full cup of coffee. So, Panama clear structure, some bureaucracy, but well-trodden paths. St. Lucia generally simpler for tourists with a big ticket option for citizens. Both require a little planning, but neither is impossible. Just make sure you pack your sense of humor.
You know, talking about traveling on new countries always makes me think about the most practical things like, where do you go if you get a case of the sniffles or, heaven forbid, something more dramatic? I remember once, I thought a mosquito bite was turning into a rare tropical disease, and I almost convinced myself I needed to be airlifted. Oh, turns out, it was just a regular mosquito bite. But the fear was very real. Aha! So, for our listeners planning their next adventure, today we're diving into access to inequalities in Panama and Saint Mo.
Mira, an airlift for a mosquito bite. Wow. I can just picture you, dramatically clutching your arm, demanding a medical evacuation helicopter. Oops. I'm pretty sure most doctors would just hand you some bug spray and tell you to lighten up. But you're right, health is no joke unless I'm making it one, of course. We're talking about Panama and St. Lucia. To places that might seem worlds apart in some ways, but both offer unique health scenarios. It's like comparing a high-tech coffee machine to a cozy.
That's a great analogy, Leo. Oh, and speaking of getting the job done, Panama really shines with its modern private healthcare system, especially in Panama City. Well, I've heard stories of expats moving there and finding that the private hospitals are just top-notch. On par with what you'd expect in the US or Europe. They have all the fancy equipment specialists, and even English-speaking staff. It's almost like they built a hospital specifically for our youth audience, you know. For those who appreciate quality and convenience.
Top-notch and fancy equipment, you say? Sounds like they've got the whole package. I imagine it's the kind of place where even the waiting room is better coffee than some cafes I've been to. But let's not forget the flip side of that shining coin. While the private facilities in Panama are indeed excellent, they come with a price tag that can be quite steep if you don't have good insurance. Ouch! The public system, on the other hand, is there for residents, but it can get pretty crowded, and waiting times might test your patience.
You're absolutely right about the costs, Leo. Oops. That's why having comprehensive private health insurance is pretty much essential for expats in Panama. Aha! But even with the private options, Panama has become quite a hub for medical tourism, especially for procedures like dental work or certain surgeries, because the quality is high and the prices are often more affordable than back home. Wow. It's like finding a hidden gem of a clinic where you can get your teeth fixed and maybe even squeeze in a mini vacation.
A hidden gem for teeth, you say? Just make sure they don't offer you a 2-for-1 special on wisdom teeth extractions and a matching sombrero. Oh, switching gears to St. Lucia. Now that's a different kettle of fish altogether. Whoa. Well, while it's a paradise for relaxation, their healthcare system is a bit more, shall we say, charming in its simplicity. The public hospitals are there, but they have limited resources and specialized care can be a real challenge.
That's such a visual, Leo. A coconut for a prop. I can totally see that. Oh, but seriously, the reality for St. Lucia is that while the local clinics and public hospitals provide essential care, expats and tourists almost universally rely on private medical facilities or, as you said, medical evacuation insurance. Wow. Imagine trying to explain your mosquito bite, tropical disease situation to a kind local doctor who might not have all the high-tech gadgets.
Indeed, Mira. You can't just wing it when it comes to your health. It's not like deciding what street food to try though even there. Some planning can save you a few ouch moments. In St. Lucia, the quality of care in private clinics is generally good for routine issues, and you're looking at a trip off the island. It's a stark contrast to Panama's sprawling private facilities. Who wants to be stuck on a beautiful beach? Feeling wow.
Well, definitely not me, Leo. I'd rather be on that beach practicing my mirror universal dance. So, if you're an expat in St. Lucia, investing in robust international health insurance is non-negotiable. It ensures you can access the better private care available locally or, if needed, be medically evacuated to a facility that can handle more complex conditions. Wow. It's all about peace of mind, really, especially when you're far from home. And for all our amazing listeners, if this information is helping you decide, remember to like this video and subscribe.
Peace of mind is key. Oh, you don't want your biggest worry to be whether the local clinic has enough bandages, do you? Yeah. In Panama, while the private healthcare is impressive, the costs can catch you off guard. So a good insurance plan is still vital. It's like having a top-tier stand-up routine but forgetting to pay for the microphone rental. It truly affects your overall well-being in a new environment. So, whether it's Panama's modern medical tourism appeal or St. Lucia's reliance on private insurance and regional transfers.
Oh, it's clear that both countries offer different approaches to health services, and it really comes down to your expectations, budget, and how prepared you are. Panama gives you more immediate access to advanced private care, while St. Lucia requires a bit more foresight and planning for comprehensive coverage. Oh, we're really trying to give you the full picture here. So, if you think we missed anything important, or if you have personal experiences to share, please don't hesitate to write them in the comments section below.
Indeed. And remember, this entire insightful, slightly chaotic, yet thoroughly entertaining discussion about global healthcare is brought to you with the generous support of Jetoff AI. They're basically the behind-the-scenes medical insurance for our podcast Swellbine.
When we talk about transportation, my mind immediately jumps to Panama. Whoa, it's like a crossroads of the world, right? You'd think with that canal, everything would just, flow.
Flow, you say? Mira, clearly you haven't tried driving through Panama City at rush hour. It's more like a stagnant puddle of ambition. I'm telling you, I once saw a pigeon trying to fly across a four-lane highway and it actually got stuck in traffic. Ooh, true story. Well, almost.
Oh, come on. You're just exaggerating. Oops. While the traffic can be a tad enthusiastic, you can't deny their network system is quite modern. Wow. It's clean, efficient, and definitely beats being stuck in a taxi that smells faintly of yesterday's fried plantains. I bet our listeners who've navigated those streets know exactly what I'm talking about. What do you all think? Tell us below.
The metro. Yes, it's lovely, if your destination happens to be directly on its path. Otherwise, you're back to dodging those Reed Devil buses, or whatever new paint job they've slapped on them now. Speaking of roads, though, I'm already anticipating the picturesque, yet probably winding paths of Saint Lucia. It's like they designed them for maximum scenic beauty and minimum arrival time. Ooh.
Whoa, you're painting a picture. And yes, St. Lucia's roads are definitely part of the adventure. You're not going to find any 6-lane highways there, but what you will find are breathtaking coastal drives. Imagine you're cruising along, taking in the pitons, and suddenly you're behind a truck full of mangos. It's not a delay, it's a cultural immersion.
Oh, I can just picture it, just me, my tiny rental car, and a truckload of tropical fruit. Is this an obstacle or an invitation to a fruit-themed improv? I do wonder how many times you'd have to pull over to avoid getting carsick on those hairpin turns. I'm more of a straight line, no surprises kind of guy, especially when I'm trying to find a decent coffee shop.
Ouch! You're making it sound like a roller coaster. But truly, the minibuses in St. Lucia are fantastic. They're a bit like shared taxis, zipping around, playing local music, and the drivers often have stories to tell. Wow. It's not just transport, it's a social hub on wheels. It's like a party bus, but with actual destination stops.
A party bus that may or may not stop exactly where you want it to. My observational skills tell me that while charming, relying on those little rocket ships might mean a bit of a wait, or a spirited debate over the fare if you're not in the know. Definitely a different vibe from Panama's bustling, somewhat chaotic but structured-ish urban network. I take Panama City's metro any day over wondering if my minibus driver understands my request for the place with the really good fish stew.
Oh, you connect, you learn a few local phrases, and maybe you discover the best fish stew you never knew existed. Both countries offer unique ways to get around, from Panama's expanding rail to St. Lucia's scenic, winding routes. It really comes down to whether you prefer a quick urban dash or a leisurely island meander. And hey, if you've got a better transit hack for either country, drop a comment.
Well, I'm just picturing myself trying to high-speed fiber optic connection on a St. Lucian mountain road so I can look up the fish to recipe. Oh, priorities, Mir. Priorities.
You're incorrigible.
But true.
Speaking of connecting with people's hearts, that usually starts with their language, doesn't it? In Panama, you'd think it's all about Spanish, and it mostly is. But get this, in Panama City and especially around the canal, English is everywhere too. It's like the country has a split personality, one half saying hola, and the other, hello there. Hello the other. Hello, imagine you, Leo, trying to order coffee in Spanish, then switching to English when things get complicated.
Oh, Mira, you really know how to paint a picture, don't you? My Spanish is perfectly adequate for ordering coffee. It's the barista's interpretation that sometimes leads to a flat white with a side of existential dread. But you're right. Panama's like linguistic buffet. But then there's the English spoken by many, especially those connected to the canal's history. And let's not forget the indigenous languages, Guna. Ngab. Well, it's like everyone's got their own secret handshake of words.
Secret handshake of words, I love that. Wow. It's true though. Imagine trying to learn all those. 1 minute you're trying to remember gracias. The next you're learning to say hello in Guna. My brain would just short-circuit and start singing in gibberish. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It pushes you to be more open. What about St. Lucia? I hear it's a bit of dance there too, but with a different rhythm.
A linguistic dance indeed, and probably one you try to choreograph after 2 cups of coffee. St. Lucia's primary language is English, which is a relief for many travelers, myself included, who've accidentally ordered a rubber chicken in French. Oops. But the real local flavor comes from St. Lucian Creole French, or KWYO. It's not just a dialect, it's a vibrant. It's not just a dialect, it's a vibrant. It's not just a dialect, it's a vibrant. Trying to pick up a few phrases is a great way to show respect, even if you sound like a parrot trying to respect.
Wow, you good story, that's pure gold. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have you ever had a hilarious miscommunication abroad because of a language barrier? Share your stories in the comments below when this goes up on YouTube. But seriously, Leo, that Creole element in Saint Lucia, it's like a hidden gem, right? It really colors the culture.
Absolutely. It's not just about understanding words, it's about understanding the nuances, the jokes, the local spirit. Ooh. In Panama, if you speak Spanish, you'll be fine. But a little English goes a long way. In St. Lucia, English gets you by, but a sprinkle of KWYO really melts the ice. It's almost like they appreciate the effort more than the perfection. I saw a traveler trying to explain something in broken KWYO, and everyone around him was just beaming.
You and your pigeons, always finding the absurdity. But it's true, isn't it? The effort counts. I'm imagining a little old Panamanian lady trying to teach me a Guna phrase, and me just smiling and nodding, then probably getting it completely wrong but still making her laugh. It's those little moments of connection, even when you're fumbling with words. That's what makes travel so rich. You know, for anyone planning a trip, Jet of AI has some great language resources to get you started, to get you unique phrases.
Fumbling with words. Sounds like my average morning before my third coffee. But you're right, Mira. It's about breaking down those initial barriers. For expats, getting immersed in Spanish in Panama City, or really diving into KWYO in St. Lucia, opens up so many more doors. Not just for daily life, but for understanding the community, the local humor, which, let's be honest, is where the real fun is. Otherwise, you're just a tourist observing from the sidelines. And where's the material in that?
Oh, so it's all about the material for you, Leo? I knew it. But I agree, whether it's the bustling Spanish of Panama or the lyrical KWYO of St. Lucia, making that effort makes a world of difference. It's not just about getting directions, it's about getting invited to someone's home for dinner. Wow. And that's a conversation starter in any language.
Indeed. And avoiding the rubber chicken incident. So next time you're exploring, try a new friend. Or at least get a decent coffee. Or at worst, another funny story for your own podcast. Perhaps with a little help from Jet Off AI, of course.
Alright, Leo. Let's dive into cultural diversity and tolerance. I've been thinking about Panama and St. Lucia. On one hand, you have Panama, practically a giant global junction thanks to its canal. Well, on the other, St. Lucia, this beautiful, small island with a really distinctive Creole flavor. What's your first thought about how these two handle a melting pot of people? Or, you know, a very well-seasoned stew?
A well-seasoned stew, Mira. I'd say Panama is more like a world's buffet. Everyone just piles their plate high. You got folks from every corner all drawn by the canal making deals or just passing through. St. Lucia, though, feels like a carefully crafted single dish, exquisite but with a very specific set of ingredients. I mean, you can tell just from the names. St. Lucia. Sounds very singular, doesn't it? As if one saint just said, "This is my island now," and everyone else said,
Wow, world's buffet, and carefully crafted single dish. I love that. You're making me hungry now, Leo. But you're right. Panama's history as a transit point means it's had so many waves of migration. You find Afro-Caribbean indigenous groups, Chinese Panamanians, Europeans, It's a real mosaic. And they all seem to just coexist. Maybe a bit like different colored sprinkles on a donut. Don't you think?
Coexists, or perhaps just tolerate each other while trying to get their ships through the canal, who knows? My observation is that when there's a huge economic engine like the canal, people are often too busy making money to argue about who arrived first. I'm certain our listeners living in Panama would agree with me. You're all welcome, just don't block the shipping lanes. On Saint Lucia, it feels like the diversity, while present, is more about historical layers French, British.
That's a sharp point about the economic engine. Leo. Oops. I almost called it a spice grinder, but I'll hold back on the food and allergies for a second. Speaking of blending, St. Lucia's KWYOL language is a beautiful example of that mixed French-based but with Afrikaans influences. Wow, it's like a cultural hug, isn't it? And they have festivals like JUNENKWYOL Creole Day, where everyone just celebrates their heritage. It's not just tolerance at joy. Oh, I'm actually truly curious all your local hairless single.
Joy, Mira? Or just a good excuse for a party? I've noticed celebrations often come with excellent food and drink. In Panama, while they have strong indigenous communities, like the Guna or Embera, who they have strong indigenous communities, like the Guna or Embera, who maintain their distinct traditions and bless their beautiful artistry. It's not always this grand to accidentally offending someone. Ouch. It's not always this grinding cultural hug you're describing.
Be careful there, Leah. I'm sure your stand-up routine about trading crafts would be hilarious, though. But you're right. Respecting distinct indigenous cultures is vital. Panama also has a very visible Chinese Panamanian community, descendants of those who helped build the railroad and canal. You see their influence everywhere, from Chino stores to delicious fusion food. It's not just a passing presence, they're deeply woven into the fabric.
Deeply woven, indeed, and probably operating the most efficient small businesses. I mean, a culture that values hard work and enterprise, what's not to tolerate? But here's my question, does true tolerance mean everyone eventually blends into one big, indistinguishable cultural smoothie, or does it mean celebrating each distinct flavor without requiring it to mix? I'm leaning towards the latter. On St. Lucia, it's fascinating how their tolerance within the dominant Creole culture.
That's a brilliant distinction, Neo. Cultural smoothie versus distinct flavors. I'm gonna steal that. And yes, St. Lucia definitely leans towards celebrating those distinct flavors within its Creole framework. You can see how the French influence pops up in the names, while the British legacy is there in the legal system, all under this vibrant Caribbean umbrella. It's a beautiful mix without losing individual charm.
Jetafe, yes, for when you're done with the cultural smoothie discussions and need practical info. I think the bottom line is Panama, with its global traffic, has learned to be broadly accepting out of necessity and economic drive, leading to a kind of functional tolerance. St. Lucia, on the other hand, seems to foster a more organic tolerance, grown from its own unique historical recipe. Both offer incredible experiences, just with different flavors of diversity.
Absolutely. So, whether you prefer the bustling, global crossroads of Panama or the rich, blended heritage of St. Lucia, both countries offer a vibrant tapestry of cultures. And hey, if you've enjoyed our chat, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It really helps us bring you more of these fun comparisons. Speaking of connecting with new places, let's talk about something truly foundational: opportunities in language schools. I mean, who doesn't love to learn, right? Oh, especially when it comes to immersing yourself somewhere totally new. I'm certain that our listeners looking to broaden their horizons would agree with me.
Who doesn't love to learn? Hurrah! You say that, but I've seen you learn how many slices of pizza fit into one sitting. Whoa, kidding! But seriously, education and language are huge. Let's kick things off with Panama. When I think of Panama, my brain immediately goes to the canal, and honestly, how much more education do you need than learning how to navigate a massive ship through a ditch?
Oh, you. But Panama's education system is actually quite robust, especially in the urban areas like Panama City. You've got public and private schools offering bilingual education. Wow. For anyone looking to move there, finding a good school for their kids, or even for themselves, isn't really a huge hurdle. Plus, they're big on vocational training too.
Vocational training? Eh? So you can learn to operate a crane or something? That actually sounds like some excellent stand-up material. Imagine a comedian trying to explain the physics of the Panama Canal lock system. Oh, but for language schools, it's Spanish, right? And I bet every teacher there tells you, hola, viven din visa Panama, where your main lesson will be patience in traffic.
You're not wrong about the Spanish. Learning Spanish in Panama is incredibly popular, and there are tons of schools offering immersion programs. From what I've heard, the Panamanian accent is pretty clear, which is great for beginners. Oh, I even tried learning a few phrases myself, like mas café, por favor. I bet that's a common one for our Jeddah community of travelers.
Oops, mas café is practically universal prayer, Mira. I'm certain that our listeners living anywhere with a good coffee culture would agree with you. But moving from a bustling hub like Panama, let's look at Saint Lucia. Now, I'm picturing learning to conjugate verbs on a beach with a parrot for a grammar tutor.
Wow, a parrot for a grammar tutor. But in Saint Lucia, English is the official language, so that's a big plus for many English-speaking learners. While it's a smaller island nation, their education system is influenced by the British model, so you'll find primary and secondary schools that are quite strong. Oh, they also focus on skills for the local economy, like hospitality and tourism.
Hospitality and tourism. So less differential equations, and more how to mix a perfect rum punch? I mean, I'm all for practical skills, but I wonder about advanced studies. Do you just pack your bags and head to a bigger island if you want to become, say, an astrophysicist? Whoa. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about that. If you've studied in Saint Lucia, let us know in the comments on YouTube.
Well, since we mentioned that, many St. Lucian students do pursue higher education abroad, often in the Caribbean, the UK, or North America. But there are local options too, like the Arthur Lewis Community College, which offers a range of programs. Oh, and speaking of languages, while English is official, French, Creole, or KWYOL is widely spoken. Learning a bit of KWYOL would certainly open up the local culture even more.
Learning KWY. So not just Joukou Menui. Ha! Sounds charming. I'd imagine a language school on an island would be a rather relaxed affair. Less sit up straight, pay attention. And more take a dip during break time. Don't worry about the sand on your textbook. I suppose it comes with its own unique challenges to like trying to focus when the ocean is literally calling your name.
Oh, the struggle is real. But honestly, both Panama and St. Lucia offer distinct advantages. Panama gives you the international, bustling city vibe with lots of Spanish immersion, while St. Lucia offers a serene, English-speaking environment with a vibrant local Creole to explore. It really depends on what kind of learner you are, and whether you prefer city life or island breezes. I'm imagining myself studying under a palm tree now.
I'm picturing you trying to highlight a textbook with sin-covered fingers, Mira. Oops! I'm certain that would be quite the creative learning experience. But yes, whether you're looking for formal degrees or just to pick up a new phrase or two for your next adventure, both places have their own kind of academic charm. Just don't expect a Panamanian Canal pilot to teach you KWYO or vice versa.
No, definitely not the same lesson plan there. But for anyone keen to explore more about these opportunities, our Gatún site has some great articles comparing school systems and language programs in different countries. It's a fantastic resource for planning your next educational journey. Ooh.
And maybe even find a paratutor if you look hard enough. That's it for educational opportunities and language schools in Panama and Saint Lucia.
Speaking of our last topic, I was just thinking about how much a country's climate dictates everything, really everything from what you wear to how you spend your evenings. And our next adventure takes us to places that practically live and breathe sunshine and warm breezes. I'm talking about Panama and Saint Lucia and their climate and seasonal conditions. Ooh.
Ah, the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, or maybe just a perpetually sticky body. You say sunshine and warm breezes. I hear my shirt is glued to my back, and I'm probably sweating off the last 5 coffees I've had. But yes, Panama and Saint Lucia, two tropical paradises, depending on your tolerance for constant warmth.
Oh, come on, Leo. Don't be such a grumbler. Imagine warm air, bright blue skies almost every day. In Panama, you've got this beautiful, consistent tropical climate. It's usually hot and humid year-round, with temperatures hovering around 29 to 32 degrees Celsius. And they have two main seasons: a dry season, which is their summer, from December to April, and a wet season from May to November. Wow, it's like nature decided. Let's keep it simple and lovely. I'm certain our listeners who dream of escaping the cold would agree with me.
Simple and lovely, she says. Simple, yes. If your definition of simple is needing to wring out your clothes after a leisurely stroll. And lovely if you enjoy humidity levels that make you feel like you're constantly wearing a warm, invisible blanket. I once saw a Panama Canal visitor trying to fan himself with a brochure so vigorously, I thought he might achieve liftoff. But seriously, their location makes them less prone to direct hurricane hits compared to other Caribbean spots.
And that's exactly the charm, Leo. Who needs a wardrobe full of heavy coats when you can live in light, breezy outfits all year? Oh. During Panama's dry season, it's all sunshine and minimal rain, perfect for exploring their incredible rainforests or lounging on the beaches. And when the wet season comes, it's not like constant downpours, it's often heavy, short bursts, usually in the afternoon. They call it tropical showers, which sounds so poetic, don't you think? You just duck for cover with a colourful umbrella and then, ta-da-ay.
Poetic tropical showers. My poetry usually involves trying to find shelter under a very small awning with half a sandwich. Meanwhile, over in Saint Lucia, you got a similar setup: hot, humid, but they are squarely in the hurricane belt. They are squarely in the hurricane belt. So, while you're enjoying your poetic umbrella moment, they're probably keeping one eye on the weather forecast from June to November. Not exactly a spontaneous let's go dance in the rain vibe when there's a categorying, is it?
Well, the residents of Saint Lucia are incredibly resilient, and they've adapted their lifestyles beautifully. Even with the hurricane season, it's often a case of being prepared, not paralyzed. And beyond that, Saint Lucia boasts a simply stunning climate. It's generally around 26 to 29 degrees Celsius with refreshing trade winds that make the humidity much more bearable than, say, a concrete jungle on a summer day. Oh, plus, the mountainous terrain creates these incredible microclimates. So you can go from a sunny beach to a cooler, misty rainforest in a short drooler.
Multiple climates, multiple opportunities for a sudden downpour, I guess. Ah! I remember once in a similar island climate, I planned an entire outdoor comedy set, thinking, this is brilliant, an open-air stage. 2 minutes in, the sky opened up, and my mate got more water than my audience. Oops. Lesson learned, always have a dry season backup plan, or at least a very good poncho. So, if you're thinking about visiting these places, remember what Leo's observational skills tell you: always pack for rain, even when they say it's dry.
That's why you just need to embrace it, Leo. In Saint Lucia, the dry season, from December to May, is their peak tourist time. Imagine perfect beach weather, gentle breezes, everything you see on those beautiful postcards. And the wet season brings lush greenery, waterfalls at their fullest, and a different kind of beauty. It's truly a vibrant, thriving ecosystem. If you're planning a trip to either of these stunning destinations.
Vibrant, thriving ecosystem usually translates to mosquito party in my experience. But I can appreciate the contrast. Panama's dry season, they call it verano, which sounds like a fancy cocktail, but it's just their summer. And St. Lucia's trade winds do offer some relief. It's really about picking your poison, I mean. Your preference: consistent heat and humidity in Panama, or consistent heat and humidity in Panama, or consistent heat and humidity with a side of hurricane watch in St. Lucia. Either way, pack light, pack bug spray. Pack light, pack bug spray.
And don't forget your enthusiasm, Leo. Because even if it's hot, you can still have an amazing time. In both countries, the lifestyle really leans into the warm with lots of outdoor activities, fresh fruits, vibrant markets. It encourages a more relaxed pace, which I think is just wonderful for your mental well-being. Speaking of well-being, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you prefer a distinct for-season climate, or would you happily trade it all for year-round warmth and humidity? Let us know in the comments below on YouTube.
Yes, do tell us your sweaty preferences. My preference is a climate where my coffee stays hot, but I don't feel like I'm melting into a puddle. So, while both Panama and St. Lucia offer that gorgeous tropical allure, it's definitely a case of managing expectations regarding the consistent warmth and the occasional downpour, or potential bigger weather events on the island. I'm still figuring out which one I am. My advice: embrace the stickinses, or bring a small personal weather machine. And don't forget to like and subscribe channel for more scene.
Ooh, food, culture, and nutritional alternatives. This is where my adventurous taste buds start doing a happy dance. You know, Leo, I once tried to explain fusion cuisine to my grandma, and she just said, "Honey, it's either food or it's not. No need for fancy words. No need for fancy words." But truly, this topic is all about the joy of discovery. So, shall we dive into Panama first? What kind of culinary magic is happening there?
Culinary magic, you say? Sounds like someone's been reading too many fairy tales, Mirror. Panama's food scene isn't exactly a unicorn parade, but it's definitely got its own charm. You're looking at a fascinating blend of Afro-Caribbean, indigenous, and Spanish influences all stirred together. Think rice, beans, plantains, the staples of a good hearty meal. Their national dish, sancocho, is a chicken soup that's practically a warm hug in a bowl. I'm certain that our listeners in Panama are nodding their heads right now.
I warm hug in a bowl? Wow, now that's a description. I love that. I could use a warm hug after some of my cooking attempts. Speaking of Panama, I heard they have some fantastic seafood. Are we talking about catch of the day freshness, or more like catch of the month and then frozen type of deal? Oh, I'm just curious because I once had a fish that tasted like it had already lived 3 lives. Oops.
You and your culinary adventures, Mira. In Panama, especially along the coasts, you're looking at genuinely fresh seafood. They're big on ceviche, which, done right, is a masterpiece. But you know, even with all that fresh produce and seafood, the cities are seeing a rise in processed foods. It's the classic global dance tradition meets convenience. So while you can find amazing, whole food, you also have your fair share of modern. It's all about making choices, isn't it? If you're visiting, isn't it?
So, the convenience monster is lurking even in Panama. Well, since we mentioned those fresh ingredients, let's shimmy over to Saint Lucia. I bet their food culture is bursting with tropical vibes and vibrant colors. Is it all about those exotic fruits and super spicy dishes? Well, I once tried a mango in Southeast Asia that tasted like pure sunshine. I literally tried to bottle it. Didn't work, by the way.
Pure sunshine in a bottle now, that's a pitch. Saint Lucia definitely has that tropical vibrancy. Their cuisine is a delightful mix of African, French, and East Indian flavors. We're talking fresh seafood like mahi and conch, combined with root vegetables, plantains, and a whole spectrum of spices. Green fig and salt fish is their national dish. Green fig and salt fish is their national dish. Less reliant of it. Mirror plenty of fresh ingredients to accidentally drop her tongue.
Babes, you know me too well, Leo. I once tried to juggle some coconuts and almost took out a street vendor. But that's a story for another time. Wow, so St. Lucia's cuisine sounds like it naturally caters to nutritional needs, with all those fresh fruits and vegetables. Are there specific local superfoods that stand out, or is it just the general goodness of eating fresh? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have you found any hidden superfood gems in the Caribbean?
Well, St. Lucia is basically a superfood playground, if you think about it. Oh, they've got abundant callaloo, breadfruit, dashi, all packed with nutrients. The emphasis is on local, seasonal produce, which naturally makes for a healthier diet. But like anywhere, if you're looking for specific nutritional alternatives, like specialized vegan cafes or gluten-free bakeries, those might be harder to find outside of the main tourist hubs. It's more about embracing the inherent goodness of their traditional cooking than seeking out trendy additional cooking than seeking out trendy additional cooking than seeking out.
So it's less about hunting for a Kayland, pino a smoothie bar, and more about simply enjoying what's fresh and local. I can get behind that. It's like the whole island is a natural health retreat. So Leo, do you think Panama or St. Lucia makes it easier for someone with, say, a strict vegan diet to thrive without constantly searching for alternatives? I'm thinking about our YouTube audience who might be planning a trip. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments.
Good question, Mira. For a strict vegan, Panama City might offer more diverse and established vegan-specific restaurants simply because it's a larger, more developed urban center with a more globalized food scene. However, St. Lucia's cuisine is naturally rich in plant-based ingredients like root vegetables, legumes, and tropical fruits. And tropical fruit stands in St. Lucia. So, while dedicated vegan spots might be fewer, it's easier to find naturally vegan meals by eating traditional fare.
Wow, a jet off-ai fruit stand tour, I love it. Imagine the smoothie possibilities. Oh, so, to sum it up for our amazing listeners, Panama offers a vibrant mix with increasing modern alternatives in its cities, while St. Lucia leans into its naturally healthy, fresh, and spice-filled Caribbean heritage. It's less about finding a specific diet and more about enjoying the local flavors. Both sound delicious to me. All right, Leo. Speaking of vibrant energy, let's dive into the absolute treasure troves that are Panama and St. Lucia when it comes to historical, cultural, and artistic values. Well, I mean, some places just has history from every cobblestone, don't they? And these two, oh, they're practically spilling over.
Spilling over, huh? I hope it's not like that coffee incident of yours. Oops. But yes, they do offer quite the historical buffet. Panama, for instance, has that little ditch, the canal that changed global trade. You'd think a ditch isn't historical, but suddenly it's a monumental feat of engineering. Aha! It's like my attempt at cooking a disaster, but a historically significant one in my kitchen.
Oh, you and your kitchen adventures. But the Panama Canal is truly a marvel, isn't it? Well, and it's not just the canal. You have Casco Viejo, Panama City's old quarter, with its incredible Spanish colonial architecture. Ah, it's so beautiful. You can almost hear the echoes of pirates and conquistadors in the narrow streets. Oh, I bet our listeners who've wandered those streets know exactly what I mean.
Pirates and conquistadors, you say? More like tourists in fanny packs and street vendors trying to sell you a tiny replica of a lock. But yes, Casco Viejo is charming. You can see the blend of old world grandeur and modern decay. It's fascinating, like watching a really slow-motion cultural collision. And the indigenous cultures, like the Guna people with their stunning molas, those embroidered textile art pieces, well. Jeddah Fai loves uncovering stories like this, and so do we.
Exactly. The Gunamolas are absolutely breathtaking. Oh, each one tells a story, a vibrant narrative of their traditions and beliefs. And their dance, the cumbia. It's so infectious. Ah! I'm pretty sure if I tried to do the diabel ICOS sucios, the dirty devil's dance, I'd just trip over my own feet and become a clumsy devil. But the passion in their culture is just incredible.
You'd probably turn it into a new dance craze, Mira. But seriously, Panama is a genuine melting pot, isn't it? Due to the canal, you've got influences from all over African, indigenous, European, even a touch of American. It's like a cultural fruit salad, and I'm always curious what flavors are at the bottom.
Right? It's that beautiful blend that makes it so unique. Now, let's pivot to Saint Lucia. Oh, talk about history. This island was fought over by the French and British 14 times. Wow. They call it the Helen of the West for a reason. Imagine being tugged back and forth like that, exhausting.
14 times? Ouch! That's more indecisiveness than I show when picking a coffee. But it certainly explains why their culture is such a rich tapestry of both French and African influences. Their KWYO language, for example, it's a testament to that history. You can almost hear the echoes of colonial skirmishes in every accent.
You absolutely can. And their annual JOUNENKWYO festival, ooh. It's a burst of color, music, and pride in their heritage. People dress in traditional costumes, they dance the quadrille, and the air just hums with storytelling and laughter. It's a true celebration of identity, something I think everyone needs a little more of.
Laughter and KWYOL. Sounds like a good time. But Saint Lucia also has a significant artistic legacy, especially with Derek Walcott, the Nobel laureate in literature. Wow, to have such a powerful voice in poetry and plays, coming from such a small island, it's proof that big things truly come in small packages. It also means they've got some very expressive storytellers, I imagine. Not just in books, but in every conversation.
Absolutely. Their local artists also create stunning paintings, pottery, and sculptures that reflect the island's natural beauty and history. Oh, you walk through their markets, and you see this vibrant art everywhere. It's not just for tourists, it's part of their daily life, their identity. It's a reminder of how art can weave through every aspect of culture.
So, one is a monumental ditch with a side of colonial charm and intricate indigenous art, while the other has a history of tug-of-war battles, vibrant Creole culture, and literary giants. It seems like both countries have mastered the art of making sure their past isn't just in textbooks but in their everyday rhythm. I'm certain our listeners who visited either would agree that these places refuse to let you forget where they came from.
They certainly do. And it's fantastic for visitors, whether you're a history buff or just someone looking to soak in some authentic culture. Oh, you can find everything from ancient ruins to modern street art, and stories that make you gasp or chuckle. It's all there, waiting to be discovered.
And discovered it should be. Don't forget, if you want to dive deeper into these incredible destinations, check out Jet Off AI for more travel insights. And if you like this little historical art tour, give us a like on YouTube and tell us in the comments what's your favorite historical spot in Panama or Saint Lucia. Oh, we're genuinely curious.
Leo, last time we chatted about places that make you feel like you're in a travel brochure, remember? Well, today we're diving into natural beauties and landscape for Panama and Saint Lucia. I mean, just the names sound like a tropical smoothie, don't they?
A tropical smoothie, Mira? I was thinking more like places where I might get lost, but at least the scenery would be spectacular. Panama, first up. You know, when I hear Panama, I immediately think of the canal. But is it just a giant ditch? Or is there more to this country's natural beauty? I'm curious what our listeners think too, you know.
Oh, Leo, you always go for the practical first. While the canal is an engineering marvel, Panama is absolutely overflowing with lush rainforests. Well, imagine wrecking through a dense jungle, hearing howler monkeys, and then stumbling upon a hidden waterfall. It's like nature decided to throw a party, and we're all invited. Ooh, they have this incredible biodiversity. So many species packed into one place. It's a real treat for the eyes and ears.
Howler monkeys, huh? Sounds like my alarm clock on a Monday. Sounds like my alarm clock on a Monday. But seriously, rainforests, I picture myself swatting away mosquitoes, trying to keep my coffee from getting watered down by the humidity. Ouch. Is it all just dramatic volcanic landscapes or pristine beaches too? I saw a photo on Jet Off AI once, and it looked like a postcard, but you know how those can be.
Oh, you'd be surprised, Leo. Panama definitely has those picture-perfect beaches, especially on its Caribbean and Pacific coasts. Wow. Think white sands, clear turquoise waters perfect for snorkeling, and palm trees swaying gently. The Sandals Islands, for instance, are managed by the Guna indigenous people, and they're just stunning, untouched, serene. Oh, plus, you have volcanic areas like Barrow Volcano, which is the highest point and offers incredible views, sometimes even of both oceans on a clear day.
Both oceans? Now that's a party trick, even for Mother Nature. Okay. Panama sounds like it's got a bit of everything for the outdoor enthusiast, from jungle to beach to volcano. But is it more of a sit on the beach with a fancy drink kind of beauty, or strap on your hiking boots and get muddy kind of beauty? I'm always looking for that authentic, slightly uncomfortable adventure myself, you know.
Oh, it's definitely both, you adventure you. While you can absolutely relax on a beach with a drink, there are also incredible opportunities for whitewater rafting, zip lining through the canopy, and of course, hiking up those volcanoes. Well, imagine wrecking through Barrow, then chilling by the Pacific. It's truly an active traveler's dream. Oh, now, let's swing over to Saint Lucia. What pops into that observational brain of yours?
Saint Lucia. I immediately think of those iconic pitons, those twin volcanic peaks. Wow. They look like they've been photoshopped onto the island. They're so dramatic. I'm guessing it's not just a backdrop for fancy resorts, right? There has to be some serious hiking or even climbing involved, or else it's just a giant lawn ornament. Our YouTube viewers probably have strong opinions on dramatic backdrops versus rugged trails.
A giant lawn ornament. You're absolutely right, Leo. The Pitons, Gross Piton, and Petit Piton are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and they dominate the landscape. Wow. You can hike Gross Piton, and while it's challenging, the views from the top are absolutely breathtaking. It's a truly iconic and unforgettable natural wonder. It feels very unique, doesn't it?
Unique? Yes. Challenging hike, you say? Sounds like I'd need a good strong coffee before attempting that, and probably a few more at the top. Ouch! Is Saint Lucia also big on those lush rainforests? Or is it more about the dramatic volcanic geology and coastline? I mean, Panama has the whole bridge of the world thing with its rainforests, so Saint Lucia has to offer something equally compelling.
Oh, Saint Lucia holds its own, my friend. Whoa. While the Pitons are the stars, the island is also incredibly lush with dense rainforests, hot springs, and even drive-in volcanoes where you can literally dormant volcano crater and take a mud bath. Wow. It's like a spa day provided by Mother Nature herself. Plus, the beaches are stunning, many with black volcanic sand, which is a unique twist compared to Panama's white sands.
A drive-in volcano and black sand beaches? That does sound like an exclusive spot remit you won't find just anywhere. Oh, so while Panama offers that incredible biodiversity in a mix of two oceans, St. Lucia gives you those dramatic, iconic peaks and a truly unique volcanic experience. It's like choosing between a grand buffet and a perfectly curated tasting menu.
Exactly. It really boils down to what kind of natural law you're seeking, doesn't it? Both offer stunning beauty, but with different personalities almost. One is wild and sprawling. The other is dramatically sculpted and postcard perfect. Oh, if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments, are you Team Panama Jungle Trek or Team St. Lucia Piton Hike?
And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying our comparison. Oh, it helps us bring more of these deep dives into countries' natural wonders, and maybe Mira will finally learn to distinguish a howler monkey from her alarm. But honestly, both countries are absolutely packed with natural splendor. It's a tough choice, even for a seasoned traveler like myself.
So, we just spent a good chunk of time comparing the big picture. But let's narrow it down to something that truly gets the heart pumping sports, activity and adventure options. Ooh, I mean, who wants to just sit around when there's a whole world to explore, right? I'm already picturing myself trying something completely wild.
Speaking of wild, Mira, I'm certain you'd find a way to make even a gentle stroll through a botanical garden into an extreme sport. You'd probably try to scale a palm tree for a coconut, wouldn't you? Oops! But seriously, let's look at Panama first. This place is a land bridge, literally connecting to massive oceans. Wow! So, naturally, water sports are huge. Think surfing on both the Pacific and Caribbean coasts, sometimes in the same day if you're ambitious, or just really bad at time management, like me.
Oh, Leo, you always make it sound like I'd spontaneously combust if I wasn't doing something insane. But you're right. Panama's unique geography is a dream for water babies. Beyond surfing, there's world-class diving in the Pearl Islands, and imagine snorkeling through vibrant coral reefs in Bocas del Toro. Oh, you can even try whitewater rafting on rivers like the Chiriquí Viejo, if you're brave enough to paddle faster than your fear. I'm actually curious what our listeners think about this. Have any of you tackled a river in Panama?
Whitewater rafting. That sounds like a great way to accidentally donate your camera to the river gods. For those who prefer a solid ground experience, Panama offers some fantastic hiking. The cloud forests of Bokeh are stunning, with trails leading to waterfalls and coffee plantations. Wow, you can even trek up Volcánboro, the country's highest point, and on a clear day, see both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans from the summit. Just imagine. You climb for hours, reach the top.
Wait. I want to add something there. Seeing two oceans from one spot. That's definitely worth the climb, even without coffee, Leo. For me, the real adventure in Panama would be exploring the rainforests. Zip-lining through the canopy, spotting monkeys and sloths. It's like being in a real-life nature documentary, but you're the star. And let's not forget indigenous cultural tours, where you can learn about Himbara or Guna traditions. It's not just for the mind and soul too.
An adventure for the mind. Adventure for the mind. Let's hop over to Saint Lucia. This isn't just a pretty face in the Caribbean, it's an Adredian, it's an Adrebian, it's an Adredice. Wow, the iconic pitons, those volcanic spires, aren't just for looking at. You can hike them. Gross Piton is a challenging climb. But the views at the top are unreal. I'm sure Miro would try to race a local up there, then complain about the humidity.
Leo, I would absolutely try to race someone, then probably offer them chocolate when I lose. But climbing the pitons sounds like a truly rewarding challenge. Oh, and since Saint Lucia is a volcanic mud bath, which is an adventure for your skin, wouldn't you say? Plus, there are those fantastic rainforest hikes leading to waterfalls like Torrela and Diamond Falls. You can literally bathe in nature's spa. Wow!
Bathing in nature's spa, Just make sure it's not a swamp. Speaking of water, St. Lucia is also a top spot for sailing, catamaran cruises, and of course diving and snorkeling. The marine life around the island is spectacular, from colorful fish to vibrant coral formations. Oh, imagine diving and finding a really old, rusty coffee mug. I'd frame that. For our listeners who love sailing, St. Lucia is home to the Atlantic Rally for cruisers, bringing in boats from all over the world.
And if you're not into sailing, you can always try zip-lining across the rainforest canopy or even mountain biking through tropical trails. Oh, St. Lucia offers a perfect blend of relaxation and thrilling activities. From exploring hidden coves by kayak to horseback riding on the beach. It's pretty hard to be bored here. I'm certain that our listeners looking for an active escape would absolutely adore St. Lucia. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're enjoying this comparison.
No boredom, just exhaustion. And let's not forget the national sport of St. Lucia, which is cricket. While it might not be as high octane as zip-lining for everyone, it's a huge part of the local culture and offers a different kind of connection to the island. You could catch a local match and really soak up the atmosphere. Oh, it's less about breaking a sweat and more about appreciating the slow burn of a good game.
Whether you're channeling your inner Indiana Jones in Panama's rainforests or conquering a volcanic peak in St. Lucia, both countries offer incredible sports, activity and adventure options. Wow, it's not just about doing, it's about experiencing. Oh, and sometimes it's about realizing you should have brought more snacks.
Or more coffee. But really, both Panama and St. Lucia prove that adventure comes in many forms, from scaling mountains to simply being open to new experiences. So, get out there and explore, everyone.
When we talk about nightlife and entertainment, Panama, really, it's not just a place where ships cross canals, it's where cultures cross paths on the dance floor. You've got everything from rooftop bars in Casco Viejo with incredible skyline views to pulsating clubs in the modern districts. It's like the city never sleeps, just takes a disco nap.
A disco nap, I like that. Disco nap, I like that. I always picture it as a place of serious business, all those suits making deals, but then you throw in a disco nap and now I'm imagining a stockbroker in a sequin blazer trying to salsa. Whoa. I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama City are nodding their heads right now, probably remembering a few of those sequin blazers. Anyway, for a country that's literally a bridge, it makes sense that it'd be a melting pot of beats. You're getting your reggaeton, your salsa.
Exactly. And the live music scene there is fantastic, whether you want to lay back just bar or a full-on concert. It's truly a destination where you can just lose yourself in the rhythm. I once tried to learn salsa there, and let's just say my feet had a different opinion than my instructor. Oops. My friends always joke that my dance moves are more of a suggestion than actual steps. Speaking of lively atmospheres, what about Saint Lucia? I can just imagine sun-kissed beaches and steel pan drums.
Ah, Saint Lucia. You got the right vibe, Mira. It's less about the high-rise clubs and more about the rhythm of the island itself. I'd say Panama is like that friend who's always planning the wildest party, while St. Lucia is the friend who throws the most show, yet unforgettable, backyard barbecue. Is it as wonderfully wildest party? Wild as they say. The legendary Gross Silent Friday night street party, or jump up as they call it, is a total experience. You've got local food, massive sound systems, and everyone just dancing in the street.
Oh, a whole street party? That sounds right up my alley. I bet my suggestion dance moves would fit right in there. It's like the entire community comes out to celebrate. That's the kind of authentic experience I crave when traveling. I mean, you can find a generic nightclub anywhere, but a treat party with local flavors and music. That's gold. Oh, and for our lovely listeners who are enjoying this on YouTube, ever found yourself dancing barefoot at a street party?
Dancing barefoot, you say? I once tried to dance barefoot and stepped on a rogue bottle cap. Ouch! My inner comedian immediately thought, well, that's one way to start a silent routine. But yes, St. Lucia's nightlife, especially outside of the resorts, feels very organic. You'll find beach bars in Rodney Bay with live calypso or reggae, which is perfect for unwinding after a long day of, existing. It's a different kind of buzz than Panama's cosmopolitan energy, more rooted in island life.
I can picture it now, sipping a fruity drink, feeling the sand between my toes and listening to the waves. Sounds like pure bliss, actually, but you mentioned resorts. Do they also have their own entertainment, or is it mostly outside? Because sometimes you just want to stumble from your dinner right into a little show, you know.
Absolutely. Most of the larger resorts in St. Lucia will have their own nightly entertainment. Think steel pan bands, local dance troops, maybe a talent show where someone tries to sing like Bob Marley. It's geared more towards a relaxed, family-friendly vibe, compared to Panama City where you might find a DJ spinning until dawn. The entertainment is certainly there, but it's often designed to complement the resort experience rather than be the sole attraction. It's a more curated fun, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. So, Panama for when you want to feel like you're in a music video, and St. Lucia for when you want to feel like you're in a postcard that occasionally breaks into dance. It's all about what mood you're in, really. Sometimes you want the electric energy, other times you want the chill island rhythm. I think both offer something really special. And for those planning their next adventure, head over to Jet Alfei for more details and travel tips on these amazing destinations.
Good plug, Mira. Oh, you're really getting good at that. And you're right, it's about the vibe. Panama, with its financial districts and international feel, naturally has a more diverse, urban nightlife. You can go from a swanky cocktail lounge to a packed club playing the latest global hits without skipping a beat.
So, if you're looking to dance till sunrise, Panama might be your jam. But if you want to dance under the stars with a side of delicious street food and genuine local charm, St. Lucia calls your name. I think I'd be happy in either, as long as there's music and good company. And maybe a quick disco nap in between.
A disco nap is crucial, Mira. It's the secret weapon of any serious partygoer. But yes, whether you prefer the urban jungle of Panama City or the tropical beats of Saint Lucia, both countries offer unique ways to light up your nights. Just remember to hydrate, and if you're in Saint Lucia, maybe wear sturdy shoes for the street party. My bottle cap incident was a learning experience.
Ugh. Alright, so we're diving into family environments and children's activities today. What a mouthful. It's like asking, how many ways can we tire out our tiny humans while still smiling? I'm already excited.
Tire out tiny humans, you say? Sounds suspiciously like my average Tuesday after a late night show. But yes, Panama and St. Lucia's offerings for families. I'm certain our listeners living in these countries would have their own tales of chasing toddlers to historical sites.
Panama City, right? Wow. It's this buzzing metropolis, almost like a grown-up playground. They have the Amador Causeway, perfect for biking or just letting the kids run wild without worrying about, them trying to climb a skyscraper. Oh, I picture myself there, racing a kid on a bike, probably losing, and then declaring it character building.
Racing kids, Mira. Don't sprain an ankle. Oops! I remember trying to bike that causeway myself once. My inner comedian was screaming for material, but all I got was a very sweaty forehead. Anyway, beyond just outdoor space, Panama also offers the Biomuseo, which is a kaleidoscope of interactive science. It's so vibrant, even I, a man whose favorite color is dark roast coffee, found it visually stimulating.
A kaleidoscope. That's exactly it. And interactive means less. Don't touch, and more. That's got that and more. Go touch everything. Plus, the Panama Canal, right? It's not just for big ships. Watching those massive vessels go through the locks is like a real-life Transformer show for kids. Oh, I'm actually curious about watching a ship move through is mesmerizing.
Mesmerizing? Mesmerizing? For a kid, perhaps. For me, it's a solid 20 minutes of contemplation on the sheer audacity of human engineering. And also how many cups of coffee I'd need to build one of those ships. But yes, it's genuinely impressive. Now, shifting gears to St. Lucia, we're moving from metropolitan marvels to volcanic wonders. Think lush rainforests and beaches with waters so clear you can see your own existential dread.
Oh, Saint name itself just sings to me. Oh, it's all about nature, right? Ziplining through the rainforest for the older kids and the young at heart, like me. Wow, I'd probably scream the whole way down, but it would be a scream of pure joy. For the little ones, there are resorts with fantastic kids clubs. It's like a tiny, supervised kingdom where parents can, dare I say, relax?
Relax? Is that even in our vocabulary, Mira? But I do appreciate the concept. St. Lucia's beaches are perfect for families too. Calm, shallow waters, just the right amount of sand for building sand castles that will inevitably be washed away by the tide. It's a profound lesson in impermanence. And don't forget Pigeon Island National Park. It's got history beaches and some really easy trails, which means even I could probably manage it without calling for a rescue helicopter.
You'd call for a rescue helicopter if your coffee ran out, Leo. But Pigeon Island sounds wonderful. It's a blend of history and fun. You get to teach them about forts and then immediately jump into the ocean. It's like history course, but make it splashing. Don't forget the catamaran tours around St. Lucia, often including snorkeling. Kids absolutely aren't all seeing colorful fish. It's like they're on live-action Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo in person. As long as I don't get Finding Leo's lost wallet in person. Ouch, but yes, aquatic activities are a big draw. Panama also has some decent nearby beaches like Coronado, though they're not quite the postcard perfection of Saint Lucia. I'm telling you, the sand in Saint Lucia is so fine. It's almost suspicious. Wow, I bet someone sifted it by hand.
And for Panama, beyond the city, you've got the Gumboa rainforest resort experience with aerial trams and butterfly houses. Wow, it's truly immersing children in nature, teaching them about biodiversity without them even realizing they're learning. It's sneaky education, the best kind. If you like what we're discussing, remember to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube. Folks, it helps us keep finding these amazing facts for you.
Sneaky education, I like that. I call it distracting them with shiny things until they absorb knowledge. For St. Lucia, there's also the Sulphur Springs Park, the drought-driven volcano. Now, for younger kids, it might just be stinky mud, but for teens, the mud baths are quite an experience. I've seen tourists emerge looking like they've wrestled a chocolate cake and lost.
Chocolate cake. Now you're speaking my language. Ooh. And St. Lucia even has chocolate experiences, like tours where you can learn how chocolate is made. What's more family-friendly than creating and then eating your own chocolate? Nothing. I say, nothing. I'm ready to move there just for that Leah.
Slow down there, chocoholic. Panama also offers amusement in its massive malls like Elbrook Mall, which has dedicated play zones and cinemas. It's a universal truth sometimes. Kids just want a good mall. No judgment here. I've spent many and are contemplating the mysteries of the food court.
Well, both countries clearly offer a diverse range of activities. Panama leans into urban exploration, educational centers, and easy access to natural wonders, while St. Lucia doubles down on the pure, unadulterated joy of island life, beaches, and rainforest adventures. I suppose if you're on jet or fay trying to decide, you should ask yourselves, do we want to pretend we're explorers in a concrete jungle, or adventurers on a tropical island? Oh.
Explorer or adventurer indeed. For those of you trying to figure out which one suits your clan, consider this: does your child prefers potting capybaras near a canal, or snorkeling with parrotfish in the Caribbean? Both are great, but one requires significantly less motion sickness medication for me.
Speaking of vibrant cultural landscapes and finding your tribe, let's pivot to a topic that's incredibly important for many: the LGBT-friendly atmosphere in Panama versus St. Lucia. Wow, it's fascinating how different countries navigate this, isn't it?
Fascinating is one word for it. My observation radar certainly pings when we talk about how some places are still living with laws that feel like they're from a dusty old scroll. It's like you open a history book, and then you see it's still being used as legal text. Ouch.
That's a very Leo way to put it. But you're right, there's a real contrast. That's often seen as one of the more progressive countries in Central America for LGBT rights, wouldn't you say? They've made strides, especially in Panama City, where you'll find a growing, visible community. Ooh.
Indeed. Panama has some anti-ceramic laws, which is a start, though not full marriage equality on a federal level yet. It's almost like they're saying we'll let use it at the table, just maybe not at the head of it yet. But the Pride events in Panama City are pretty energetic. I saw a clip once. It looked like a glitter explosion. Wow. I'm curious what our listeners in Panama City think about the vibe there.
They certainly are. And that's exactly the kind of joy and visibility we love to see. It's about creating spaces where everyone can feel celebrated and safe. When you look at the community and the activism, there's such a spirit of hope. It truly feels like love grows when it's shared openly, you know?
Yes, the hope and glitter are definitely there, but then you look at Saint Lucia, and it's a bit of a different picture. Colonial-era laws are still in place, which criminalize consensual same-sex acts. Bouch. It's a gorgeous island. Absolute paradise for a tan, but maybe not for everyone's identity.
Wow, that really shifts the mood. While St. Lucia offers stunning natural beauty, the legal landscape for LGBT individuals remains challenging. It means that while tourists might not always feel the direct impact, the local community faces significant hurdles and social stigma. It's a reminder that even in paradise, not everyone experiences the same freedom. My heart just aches for those who can't fully be themselves in their own homes. Ouch.
Precisely. It's the kind of situation where you see the brochure, all sun and smiles, but then you dig a little deeper and realize there's a whole other story bubbling underneath. It's like finding out your supposedly all-inclusive resort doesn't actually include coffee past 9 a.m. Oops.
I know you'd be heartbroken by that. But, on a serious note, it really highlights the importance of understanding the full context when considering travel or even relocation. For Panama, while there's still progress to be made, the direction is generally forward, with activists pushing for more inclusivity. It's inspiring to see the community fighting for their rights and creating safer spaces. Ooh.
Absolutely. And conversely, in St. Lucia, while there are ongoing conversations and efforts by local advocates to challenge these outdated laws, it's a much steeper climb. Social acceptance there is generally much lower, which can mean limited public visibility and real fear of discrimination. It's a situation where even finding a local LGBT-friendly spot might require more than just a quick search. You might need a secret handshake or a coded message, which is quite the absurdity in this day and age.
A secret handshake. I'm sure our listeners, especially those from the LGBT community, would agree that true acceptance is about more than just tolerating, it's about celebrating. Panama, despite its imperfections, seems to be leaning towards that embrace of diversity. They're making strides in changing laws and fostering open dialogues. I think that's something to truly admire. Wow.
Admirable, yes. And Panama's commitment to improving gender identity recognition, for example, is notable. It shows they're not just resting on their laurels, which is always a good sign. It's a complex dance, this progress thing, often to steps forward. One side step, but at least they're still dancing, right? If you guys have stories about navigating these atmospheres, whether positive or challenging, please drop them in the comments on YouTube. Your experiences truly help illuminate these topics.
Yes, definitely. Your insights are invaluable. And for anyone planning a trip or looking to learn more about a country's social climate, remember resources like Jet or Faye can provide deeper dives into these often overlooked aspects. It's about being informed and finding a place where you can feel your most authentic self.
Because as a seasoned traveler, I've learned that not all sunshine is equal. Sometimes the brightest beaches can hide the longest shadows, especially if you're not allowed to be who you are. It's why this LGBT-friendly atmosphere topic isn't just a side note, it's a critical criterion.
Couldn't agree more. Every country has its own journey towards inclusivity, and it's important to recognize both the progress and the areas where more love and understanding are needed. Speaking of connecting with people, I was just thinking about how some countries just pull you in with open arms. Whoa, today, we're diving into Panama and St. Lucia's approach to making foreigners feel at home. It's like, do they give you a hug? Or just a polite nod? I'm all about those warm embraces myself.
Warm embraces, Mira? So, you're saying if a country doesn't immediately offer you a hug, it's not hospitable enough for your standards? My expectations are a bit lower. A simple hello without being interrogated about my life story usually does the trick for me. But I get what you mean. Panama, often called the crossroads of the Americas, is fascinating. It's practically built on international connections, thanks to that big ditch they dug. You'd expect them to be pretty used to foreigners, right?
Absolutely. Panama feels like a vibrant mosaic of cultures. Wow. I imagine their hospitality is less about the grand gesture and more about efficient, welcoming professionalism given its role as a global business hub. Like they're saying, welcome to our country, here's your business plan and also a delicious impondona for your troubles. Oh, I'm certain that our listeners living or working there would agree it's a very expat-friendly place.
Yeah, expat friendly, but is it Leo friendly? Uh, my definition of hospitality usually involves a strong cup of coffee and someone not asking me to fill out 5 forms before I've had said coffee. In Panama, you've got this incredible mix of people from all over the world coming for business for the canal or just passing through. So, their attitude toward foreigners is often quite pragmatic. They understand diversity as part of their identity. But I've heard sometimes it can feel a bit transcational.
Oops. Don't let the word transcational scare you, Leo. I'm sure there's still plenty of poor Evita to be found, even in a bustling city like Panama City. It's probably more like, we respect your ambition, but also relax a little. Oh, and speaking of relaxing, let's swing over to Saint Lucia. What? This is where I imagine the hugs start happening without asking. Picture this sun-kissed beaches, reggae rhythms, and everyone just radiating pure joy. Ooh, I'm already mentally packing my brightest bikini.
I'm picturing you trying to do a spontaneous dance routine with a local fisherman. Oops, St. Lucia definitely has that island warmth down to a science. Because tourism is such a huge part of their economy, foreigners are often met with incredibly open arms. It's a very different vibe from Panama's business-savvy approach. In St. Lucia, it's less about the crossroads of good vibes. They truly want you to enjoy their beautiful island, and that shines through in their beautiful island.
Exactly. It's that kind of place where locals might just strike up a conversation while you're strolling through a market, or even offer you a taste of some delicious mango without expecting anything in return. Wow, that's my kind of hospitality. I bet if you ask for directions, you'll end up with a person escorting a story about their cousin's fishing trip. What do you think, listeners?
Spontaneous adventures are great, but sometimes I just need to be pointed in the right direction without becoming part of a dramatic narrative. My observational skills are always on, but sometimes I want to observe in peace, you know. But I can appreciate the genuine warmth. The attitudes toward foreigners in St. Lucia are generally very positive because visitors are so vital to their way of life. They're proud of their culture, their food. They're proud of their culture. They're proud of their culture, their food, their music, into a massive expat community.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Two entirely different approaches to making foreigners feel at home. Panama, with its global outlook, integrates you into a diverse, fast-paced environment, while St. Lucia, with its laid-back charm, invites you to slow down and savor the moment with genuine, warm interactions. It's like Panama offers you a fast-track business class ticket, and St. Lucia hands you a hammock by the beach with a coconut. Oh, I'd take both. Thank you very much.
I knew you would, Mira. You would, Mira. You'd probably try to turn the hammock into a swing for a new dance routine. Oops. But you've hit on the core difference. Panama's hospitality, while welcoming, can sometimes come with an unspoken expectation of what's your purpose here. Whereas St. Lucia's is often welcoming, can sometimes come with an unspoken expectation of what's your purpose here. Or, how do you fit into our economic landscape? Welcome, enjoy our island, and maybe buy some crafts. It's a more direct, less complicated kind of warmth.
It's all about what you're looking for, right? If you're planning your next big trip, maybe check out Jajafé. For some inspiration, they got details on both these incredible places. What? But seriously, Leo, have you ever been offered a random dance lesson in a foreign country? I feel like that's just begging for a stand-up routine.
A random dance lesson. I've mostly been offered random unsolicited advice, which is its own kind of performance, I suppose. But you're right, that could be prime material. I usually end up turning my awkward attempts at blending it into a punchline anyway. Ouch. But I think what's important here is that both countries, in their own unique ways, manage to foster a sense of belonging for different types of foreigners. It's not one size fits all, but rather one's own flavor of welcome.
And I hope our listeners are now pondering which flavor suits them best. Oh, because whether you prefer the bustling energy of Panama or the serene warmth of Saint Lucia, you're bound to find people ready to connect with you. It's a big, beautiful, welcoming world out there.
You said it, Mira. Just remember to pack your sense of humor and maybe a phrase book.
Oh, now let's talk about something truly essential in our modern lives: internet infrastructure and digital facilities. I mean, seriously, can you imagine waking up and having to explain to your phone that you don't have Wi-Fi? It's like, sorry, little gadget, we're going old school today. But in Panama, they're really making strides. I've heard about their efforts to expand fiber optic networks.
Fiber optic networks, eh? Sounds fancy, Mira. I'm just hoping it reaches beyond the fancy hotels and into the little coffee shops where a guy like me needs to upload his brilliantly sarcastic stand-up bits. Panama's trying, but sometimes these digital wonders get tangled in the real-world jungle. I once tried to stream a documentary in a seemingly modern cafe, and it buffered so much I thought the video was a still image.
Oops. Sounds like you needed more coffee and less buffering. But hey, Panama has definitely invested in its digital backbone, especially around the Canal Zone. It's a key global transit point, so they've also been pushing for digital government services. I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama would appreciate not having to queue for hours for paperwork.
Yes, because nothing says modern convenience like staring at a loading screen instead of a long line. Although, a long line does give you more material for observational comedy. Just saying. Speaking of connectivity, how does Saint Lucia, our beautiful island paradise, stack up? Are we talking Wi-Fi on the beach, or are you still relying on carrier pigeons with tiny USB drives?
No carrier pigeons, Leo, although that would be an adorable app concept. Oh, Saint Lucia is doing pretty well for an island nation, actually. They've also invested in fiber optics, especially to support their booming tourism sector. Imagine uploading your stunning vacation pics to Instagram right from your sun lounger. Well, it's all about connecting those beautiful landscapes to the world. And they have a few tech hubs popping up too, for those digital nomads looking for a view.
Tech hubs on a tropical island. I can just picture it, someone trying to code with a parrot squawking "bug found." Bug found in the background. But seriously, reliable internet is crucial. I once tried to book a flight from a beach hut in a remote area. Let's just say my credit card almost melted from the sheer frustration of trying to get the page to load. Ouch! Do these countries at least make it easy for us to find free Wi-Fi spots? Because my personal mantra is coffee and Wi-Fi, the twin pillars of a comedian's.
I totally get that, Leo. In Panama, you'll find Wi-Fi pretty readily in cafes, malls, and hotels, often for free. It's part of the urban experience. And in Saint Lucia, given its tourism focus, many resorts and restaurants offer complimentary Wi-Fi. It's a competitive market. For anyone planning a trip, definitely check out Jet-to-GDP for more details on staying connected abroad. They have some great resources.
Right? Jet-to-GDP, where you can find out if your phone will get better service than you will. But it's true for digital nomads or even just tourists. Consistent access is a game changer. I mean, how else are you going to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if the signal keeps dropping? Don't forget, folks, hit that subscribe button. It's easier than trying a decent signal in a remote village, trust me.
Oh, you're so right, Leo. And if you're thinking about moving or studying there, consistent internet means you can actually attend those online classes or conduct business calls without suddenly freezing mid-sentence. Oops. I mean, nobody wants to look like a statue on a video call. It's all about empowering local businesses and making education accessible. What do you think, listeners? Does strong internet make a country more appealing to you? Let us know in the comments below.
For me, it boils down to practical use. Can I upload my 5-minute monologue about the absurdities of life without the WFI cutting out at the punchline? Can I research the best street food stalls without waiting 5 minutes for Google Maps to load? If the answer is yes, then both Panama and Saint Lucia are doing something right. I mean, we're grateful for all these digital advancements.
Absolutely. And both nations are continually upgrading their infrastructure, understanding that a connected population is a thriving one. It's like building superhighways for data. Imagine all the dance videos I could upload. Depending on whether you're in a bustling capital or a secluded cove, both countries are clearly on a digital journey.
And a journey that needs to be properly documented and shared online. So, next time you're scrolling through social media or watching a video, remember the digital backbone making it possible, whether it's in Panama City or a quaint village in Saint Lucia. And if you've got any funny internet stories from either place, comment on our YouTube video. We'd love to hear them.
Ooh, shopping opportunities and price-performance balance. This is my kind of topic, Leo. I mean, who doesn't love a good treasure hunt with a credit card? For Panama, I'm thinking about those massive malls like O'Brook. You walk in, and it's like a whole other city devoted to consumerism. Wow. I once got lost trying to find the exit after buying a ridiculously tiny hat that I absolutely did not need.
Mira, you always manage to turn a shopping trip into an epic saga. I can just picture you, map in hand, declaring, "The hat must be found," and Albrook Mall? It's less a mall and more an indoor continent, isn't it? But Panama's definitely a hub for it. Especially with the colon-free zone. You can find some seriously good deals there on electronics and imported goods. It's like the entire country will clearance sale. Oh, though I always wonder, how many bargains do people actually need?
Well, sometimes you don't need it, Leo. You just vibe with it. And speaking of vibes, Panama's also fantastic for its local crafts and, of course, that famous Panamanian coffee. I mean, imagine sipping a freshly brewed geisha while haggling for a hand-woven basket. It's an experience. It's not just about the price performance, it's the performance of the shopping itself. I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama would agree with me.
Yes, the performance of shopping. I like that. For some, it's a sport, for others an Olympic event. Whoa. Now, when we pivot to Saint Lucia, the shopping scene shifts a bit, doesn't it? It's less about the sprawling malls and more about the duty-free ports like Point Serafini and Castries. You can snag some luxury items, perfumes, jewelry, and a good bottle of rum without the added tax. But for someone like me, who's usually just looking for a strong cup of coffee in a quiet corner, it feels a bit.
Oh, but that curated feeling is part of the charm, Leo. It's not about finding 20 different versions of the same thing, it's about finding that one unique, artisanal piece. Think about those vibrant local markets in Saint Lucia, bursting with fresh spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, and colorful souvenirs. I mean, you can buy a tiny, hand-carved wooden parrot that reminds you of the island every time you look at it. Wow, that's priceless. It's all about the story, not just the sticker price.
Write the story. I once bought a unique local craft that turned out to be made in a factory on another continent. Ouch, talk about a plot twist. Ouch, talk about a plot twist. Talk about a shopping adventure. The price-performance balance there often leans toward unique, often handmade items, or those specific luxury duty-free goods, while general retail on an island can sometimes feel a bit pricier due to import costs. The value comes from the distinctiveness.
Absolutely, it's like comparing a blockbuster movie to a charming indie film. Both have their appeal. I mean, who wouldn't want a bottle of rum that smells like sunshine and adventure, even if it's not a bargain in the traditional sense? Oh, and speaking of good value, our friends at Jet I definitely know how to balance price and performance when it comes to finding amazing travel experiences.
Wise observation, Mira. It's not always about the lowest price, but what you actually get for it. My general rule for shopping abroad is if it won't fit in my backpack without exploding, it's probably not essential. Though I once tried to fit a giant novelty hat from Panama into my carry-on, so I'm not always successful. Oops.
Wait, you bought a novelty hat, Leo? Well, you're telling me off for my tiny hat, and you're hauling around a giant one.
Hey, mine was for research purposes. It was a study in spatial displacement. I'll get the details on Jet AI eventually, perhaps.
When we talk about cultural events, festivals, and concerts, it's like a burst of confetti and rhythm for my soul. Oh, you know me, Leo. I love a good party. And today, diving into Panama and Saint Lucia's offerings, I'm already feeling the drum beats in my feet. Wow. What a vibrant comparison this is going to be.
I can practically see you trying to do a high kick right now, Mira. Just try not to knock over the microphone, we've only just started. Panama and St. Lucia, you say? Well, if we're talking about places where people actually know how to celebrate, these two certainly don't disappoint. I'm just here for the free food, frankly. Kidding. Mostly. But seriously, the energy during some of these festivals is palpable. It's like watching a human documentary unfold, but with much better soundtracks.
Imagine the energy. In Panama, their carnival is legendary, right? It's not just a parade, it's a full-on water battle and street party before Lent. Whoa. I mean, who doesn't love a good, unexpected splash? Ooh. It's like the entire country decides to turn into one giant, joyful water park for a few days. I'm certain our listeners who've experienced it would totally agree.
Oops. Water park. Sounds like a clever way to get everyone's clothes to shrink simultaneously. My luggage strategy would be completely ruined. But yes, Panama's carnival, especially in Los Tables, is an explosion of color, music, and the molladura as those water trucks drenching everyone. It's organized chaos, Mirror. And then you have the Panama Jazz Festival. Wow, that brings in serious talent, turning Panama City into a smooth, melodic hub for a week. It's a testament to the country's diverse cultural palette.
Oh, jazz in Panama? That's a perfect blend of cool and tradition, isn't it? It makes me think about how these events really bring communities together. Speaking of traditions, St. Lucia has its own incredible vibe, especially with Creole Heritage Month, or J-O-U-N-E-N-K-W-Y-O-L. They celebrate their language, their food, their whole identity. It's beautiful.
Creole Heritage Month sounds like a delicious excuse to try new dishes. And St. Lucia's Jazz Festival, now that's a heavyweight. Wow. It's internationally renowned, drawing huge names and crowds to gorgeous venues with those stunning Caribbean backdrops. It's not just a concert, it's an experience. You can almost smell the sea's alt and hear the saxophones competing with the waves. For anyone looking to immerse themselves in music and culture, These insights could have been possible without jet off AI by referring to cultural trend.
Well, see, I told you there'd be music and confetti. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Have any of you ever been to Saint Lucia's Jazz Festival? Let us know in the comments below on YouTube. I'm picturing myself on the beach, dancing to some incredible jazz. Maybe a little out of sync, but definitely happy.
You? Out of sync? Never. You're always in your own unique rhythm, Mira. But talking about unique rhythms, Panama also has its folkloric festivals like the Diablos Rojos. Whoa. These Red Devils dances are something else. Colorful masks, elaborate costumes blending indigenous and Spanish influences. It's a performance that tells a story rather than just a party. It's like a live history lesson, but way more entertaining than any textbook I ever tried to read.
A history lesson that makes you want to dance. Ooh, that's my kind of education, Leo. And Saint Lucia has its own vibrant celebrations too, like the Fisherman's Feast, where they bless the boats. It's such a beautiful tradition, showing gratitude and community spirit. It's not all big, flashy concerts, you know. Sometimes it's these smaller, more heartfelt gatherings that really capture a country's soul.
Absolutely. And then there's the modern concert scene. Panama City has a growing number of venues hosting international acts, which is great for the younger crowd. Saint Lucia, while famous for jazz, also throws down with Mercury Fest, a massive beach party. It's proof that both countries can blend tradition with a good old-fashioned modern rave. It's all about finding your flavor, isn't it?
Finding your flavor. And speaking of flavor, I bet the food at all these festivals is just incredible. Wow. Seriously, Lear. Whether it's the Panamanian sancocho at Carnival or a St. Lucian callaloo at JOUNENKBYOL. The food is half the experience, don't you think? Oh, it's like a hug for your taste buds.
I hug for your taste buds, delivered with a side of questionable street meat, probably. But yes, food is integral. I've often found that the best stories come from trying the weirdest street food during a festival. You just never know what you're going to get. One time, I thought I was eating a savory pastry and it turned out to be sweet, and I nearly spat it out on a performer. Oops. So, always be prepared for the unexpected when you're diving into festival fare.
Oh, Leo! You're always having some wild food adventure. But that's what makes these cultural events so amazing. They're full of surprises, music, and flavors that create truly unforgettable memories. Wow! From the grand parades of Panama to the soulful jazz of Saint Lucia, both countries offer a calendar packed with joy. And that's what we love to see. Oh, right. So from all that talk about ancient ruins and vibrant festivals, how about we pivot to something equally fascinating, but perhaps a bit more tongue-twisting? Opportunities and ease of learning the local language. Ooh, I'm already picturing myself trying to order coffee in 5 different languages and probably ending up with a rubber chicken.
Rubber chicken sounds about right for my attempts at ordering anything beyond pointing. You're always so enthusiastic about diving headfirst into a linguistic wrestling match. Me? I prefer my brain to stay comfortably in its English-speaking armchair. But seriously, let's look at Panama first. If you're heading there, you'd better brush up on your Castellano, or you'll be asking for directions to the Biblioteca, and end up at the Discotequia. Oops.
Knowing you. Leo, you'd probably prefer the Discotequia anyway, asking for a café con ritmo instead of just café. But yes, for Panama, it's Spanish, which is fantastic. It's such a widely spoken language, and the opportunities for immersion are everywhere. From the bustling markets in Panama City to talking with locals outside the tourist zones, you can find language schools on every corner, ready to teach you true holo. Ingracias.
5 minutes, Mira. Don't exaggerate. It took me a full weekend just to master where's the nearest coffee shop. And even then, I usually ended up at a laundromat. Oops. The ease of learning Spanish in Panama is certainly there if you have the dedication. I've observed that many expats find it essential for navigating daily life, which pushes them to learn. But for a casual traveler, you might get by with English in tourist traps, but step one foot outside, and suddenly everyone looks at you like you're speaking ancient Martian.
That's the beauty of it, though. It forces you out of your comfort zone. I mean, imagine trying to negotiate for a handmade molas in Spanish. That's an adventure in itself. Oh, it's not just about the words, it's about connecting with the culture on a deeper level. Plus, Spanish sounds so passionate. It makes me want to dance even when I'm just saying hello.
Passionate, Mira? To me, it just sounds like someone's always in a hurry. Now, on the flip side, we have Saint Lucia. This is where it gets boring, for a language enthusiast like yourself, isn't it? So, for many of our listeners, the ease of learning local language is practically zero. You already speak it. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Does it feel like a cheat code for a tropical paradise?
Warren, boring, never. While English is official, Saint Lucian KWYOL, which is a Creole French. And that, my friend, is a whole new linguistic adventure. Wow, it's not about necessity for an English speaker, but about truly diving into the local fabric, the music, the storytelling. It's a connection to their heritage. Learning a few KWYOL phrases would be like unlocking a secret level of St. Lucian charm.
KWYOL, you say? I bet it's not as easy as downloading an app and calling it a day. I've seen tourists try to learn French-based Creole that often ends with them ordering something completely inappropriate in a restaurant. Oops. For English speakers, the official language being English makes daily interactions effortless. But then you miss out on that specific local flavor. It's a trade-off. I'm imagining a group of tourists proudly saying bon jou, and then getting stuck when asked for directions to the nearest TBWA.
Or maybe they just point and do interpretive dance, which, honestly, is probably what I'd do anyway. Bups, imagine the satisfaction. You go to St. Lucia, you learn a bit of KWYOL, and suddenly you're part of something deeper than just a beach vacation. It's about bridging those cultural gaps. You wouldn't find as many formal KWYOL schools as Spanish schools in Panama, but that just means more organic. Real well. If you really wanted to impress someone, you'd learn KWYO and then try to tell one of your sarcastic jokes in it.
My sarcastic jokes translated into KWYOL. I'd probably just confuse everyone even more. It sounds like Panama offers a more structured path for language acquisition with its numerous Spanish schools, which is great for those who prefer classroom settings. While St. Lucia provides a kind of with English, those truly seeking linguistic adventure would need to seek out KWYOL through immersion. It's a very different approach, isn't it? It depends on whether you like your language learning prepackaged.
Well, I'd say both countries offer unique language experiences. Panama for deep Spanish immersion, and St. Lucia for effortless English, plus the cultural bonus of KWYOL. You know, for anyone wanting to really dig into a new language, Jet-to-GDP also has some great resources and articles that can help you get started on your linguistic journey before you even pack your bags. So, if you're struggling, or just want some extra tips, check it out.
A seamless plug, Mira. I expected nothing less. So, in essence, if you want a challenge, head to Panama and immerse yourself in Spanish. If you want to feel immediately at home linguistically, St. Lucia offers that with an optional, rewarding KWYOL journey for the adventurous. It's like choosing between a spicy curry or a comforting chicken soup, both satisfying, but in different ways. Just don't ask me to order either in KWYOL.
Panama and Saint Lucia. Panama and Saint Lucia. These just sound like they're competing for the most Instagram-able sunset award. But today we're actually digging into something a bit more grounded safety and comfort for women travelers. Wow. I always joke that when I travel solo, I need to pack an extra sense of humor just in case. And maybe a giant, sparkly safety whistle. But seriously, I think about this a lot.
An extra sense of humor. Mira? I thought that was just a standard portable disco ball. Whoa. I'm pretty sure you could charm a pickpocket into giving you his wallet. Fa! I'm practical top pickpocket into giving you his wallet. But you're right, it's a critical topic. From my observational standpoint, Panama City can feel a bit like a buzzing beehive, very active. For women travelers, there's a certain energy there that commands awareness. It's not inherently dangerous, but you definitely need your wits about you. But your wits about you especially.
Oh, you always say I could charm anyone, Leo. But I think my secret weapon is just being so unexpectedly cheerful they don't know what to do with me. Speaking of unexpected Panama City's vibe, I've heard that while it's generally safe during the day, some parts, like Casca Viejo, can get a bit sketchy when the lights go out. Ouch. Do you guys agree with us? I'm curious what our listeners who've actually strolled those streets think. But then you also have places like Bouquet, which are super chill and seem to be a haven for ebblers.
To personalities, more like a split personality disorder, if you ask me. But it's true the contrast is stark. In the rural parts of Panama, like Bouquet or the San Blas Islands, the community feel is much stronger. People keep an eye out for each other. Less anonymity, which can translate to a greater sense of security. Less anonymity, which can translate on not physical big city rules apply, don't flash valuables. Stick to well-lit areas, and maybe don't wander alone late at night.
Annoying? It's like that mosquito that buzzes around your ear all night. You just want it to go away. Ouch. So, from what I gather about Panama, it's a mixed bag. Day activities in smaller towns seem to be a breeze for women's comfort. But for city nights, maybe a group or a trusted ride is the way to go. Speaking of contrasting vibes, let's hop over to Saint Lucia. It's this beautiful island paradise, and you'd think a full island no worries, right?
Sunshine and no worries. That's usually the picture they paint in the brochures. But even in paradise, you need to keep your wits. St. Lucia is generally considered very safe, especially within the resorts and main tourist areas. Wow, the local culture is pretty laid back and friendly. However, similar to Panama, petty crime like bag snatching can occur in crowded areas or isolated spots. For women travelers, this means being aware, but perhaps less on edge than in a bustling metropolis like Panama City.
As what's your back? What's your beach bag in St. Lucia? I've read that the locals in St. Lucia are incredibly welcoming, and there's a strong sense of community. This often translates to a safer feeling for women's comfort, as people are more likely to intervene or offer help. Oh. But what about the nightlife there? Like Rodney Bay? Is it a done kind of safe? Or be home before Cinderella's curfew kind of safe?
Rodney Bay. It's definitely a lively spot, especially on weekends. You can absolutely dance till dawn, but with sensible precautions. Oops. Just like any popular nightlife area, moderation is key. Overdoing it can make you a target regardless of the country. I've seen some instances where women were approached persistently, but usually a firm no is respected. The biggest advice I always hear is to use licensed taxis, and maybe not walk alone on deserted beaches late at night.
Common sense, yes. But sometimes common sense flies out the window when you're on holiday and feeling fabulous. So in my Panama and Saint Lucia, it seems the message for women travelers is be aware, not afraid. Urban areas and nightlife spots require a bit more vigilance, while rural areas and daytime activities are generally more relaxed. Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Maybe some of them have personal stories to share. And remember, if you're planning your own adventure, just check resources for destination insights.
That's a great point, Mira. Preparation is key. From what I've observed, the cultural attitudes in St. Lucia tend to be more conservative than in Panama City, especially concerning dress. While tourists can generally wear what they want within resorts, exploring local towns might call for slightly more modest attire out of respect, which can also contribute to feeling less scrutinized. Wow, Panama is more accustomed to diverse attire due to its global port status. It's all about blending in subtly where you can to avoid unwanted attention.
That's actually a really good distinction, Leo. I hadn't thought about the dress code contributing to comfort. Oh, so a little bit of cultural sensitivity can go a long way in St. Lucia, and maybe a more anything goes approach is fine in cosmopolitan Panama. It sounds like both countries, despite their differences, offer rewarding experiences for women travelers as long as they approach their journey with an informed perspective. And for those planning, don't forget to check out Top 8 for more detailed guides.
Exactly. And if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're always trying to bring you new perspectives and a good laugh.
You know, Leo, we've talked about amazing food and incredible landscapes, but what about something a little, well, more grounded? I'm thinking of the legal system, individual rights, and freedoms. Not exactly a party starter, I know, but super important.
Grounded, you say? Sounds like we're moving from a lively dance floor to a dusty courtroom. But hey, someone's got to keep things in check, right? As a traveler, I've seen some legal systems that felt more like a game of pin the tail on the donkey than anything else. Today, we're diving into Panama and St. Lucia. I bet Panama's legal landscape is as complex as its canal locks. Whoa.
You always find a way to make even bureaucracy sound exciting, Leo. But seriously, Panama's legal system is quite interesting, drawing from civil law traditions but with some U.S. influenced nuances. They have a constitution that outlines a lot of individual rights, like freedom of speech and assembly. It really feels like they're trying to balance global standards with their own unique context. I'm curious, what are your sharp-eyed observations about the practical side of those rights in Panama?
Sharp-eyed is right, Mira. Sometimes I feel like a legal detective just trying to follow the paper trail. Panama's constitution looks great on paper, but in practice, things can get a bit, let's just say, flexible. There's been talk about judicial independence and transparency being, shall we say, a work in progress. Especially when you're dealing with anything related to, big business, or those notorious corporate structures. You think you're looking at a pristine legal tunt.
Oops. A secret trapdoor. You're too much, Leo. That's fair. Every country has its challenges. I always believe in focusing on progress. Speaking of which, Saint Lucia, our other country, has a legal system that's a blend of common law, very much influenced by its British heritage, and civil law. It's a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary democracy. So individual rights like freedom of expression and religion are generally quite robust, similar to other Commonwealth nations. It gives you a sense of stability,
An anchor in calm waters, you say? Sounds lovely, Mira, until you realize the anchor might be tied to a very big ocean. While Saint Lucia certainly prides itself on its British-inspired judiciary, being a small island nation often means resources can be stretched. Legal aid might not always be as accessible as you'd hope, and sometimes local dynamics can sway things a little. Oops. I'm certain that our listeners in Saint Lucia would agree that, for all its charm, a smaller system can have its own unique quirks.
You're probably right. But in both countries, the fundamental idea of individual rights is there. Whether it's Panama's constitutional protections or St. Lucia's common law principles, people generally have the right to speak their minds, assemble peacefully, and practice their religion. Aha! It's empowering to know that, even with the quirks you mentioned, the framework for freedom exists. I mean, nobody wants to feel like they're walking on eggshells, right?
Nobody wants to walk on eggshells unless they're doing a comedic routine about it. But yes, while the frameworks exist, the interpretation and enforcement can be where the real fun or lack thereof begins. In Panama, for instance, there have been discussions around freedom of the press and defamation laws. It's one thing to have the right to speak, and another to actually use it without, shall we say, attracting unwanted attention.
Oh, that's a good point. And it's something to be mindful of anywhere you travel. Speaking of freedoms, in St. Lucia, like many Caribbean nations, there can sometimes be debates on social issues. For instance, regarding LGBT rights. While there's progress, traditional views sometimes clash with evolving ideas of individual liberty. It's a journey, not a destination, for many societies on these issues. Wouldn't you say? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. If you have experience with this, please let us know in the comments when this is uploaded to YouTube too.
A journey, not a destination. That's one way to put it, Mira. Or perhaps 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then everyone debates whether the steps even counted. You know, for foreign investors, Panama has a fairly clear-cut legal system regarding property rights in business, which is why it attracts a lot of international activity. But sometimes, individual citizens find themselves in a labyrinth of paperwork trying to get things done. It's like the system was designed by someone who enjoys mazes.
Someone who enjoys mazes, I can just picture them with a devious grin. Oh, but it's true. The ease of doing business can often differ from the ease of navigating personal legal matters. In St. Lucia, property rights are also robust, especially with the tourism-focused economy. They want to assure investors that their assets are secure under common law. It provides a solid foundation, which is crucial for a small nation.
Solid foundation indeed, as long as you don't accidentally build your foundation on an ancient burial ground. Oops, then you'll need more than just common law. But jokes aside, while both countries offer constitutional or common law protections, the devil is often in the details, as they say. Or in this case, the paperwork. Whether you're in Panama or St. Lucia, having a good local guide or lawyer is probably more important than having a good sense of humor. Although, a good sense of humor definitely helps.
You always bring it back to humor, Leo. But your point is spot on. For anyone living or investing in these beautiful countries, understanding the nuances of their legal systems and how individual rights are upheld is vital. It's about respecting the local framework while ensuring your own liberties are understood. It's a fascinating balance, really. I've got to say, when I think about spa, healthy living and relaxation opportunities, my mind immediately jumps to places that promise a full body, full soul reset well. And our two countries today, Panama and Saint Lucia, deliver in such unique ways. Oh,
Full body, full soul reset, Mira. Sounds like something you'd sign up for after a particularly long Dan Still Dawn travel day. You'd probably need a team of healers just for your knees. Ouch. But yes, Panama, with its bustling capital and lush interiors, has quite the contrast when it comes to unwinding.
hey, my knees are perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Speaking of contrasts, Panama City offers these super sleek, high-rise hotel spas, right? You're getting a 5-star massage while looking out over the city skyline, maybe even the Panama Canal. Wow, it's like I'm relaxing, but I'm also watching ships cross oceans.
True. The juxtaposition of a deep tissue massage and watching international commerce unfold very zen. For me though, I'm thinking about those eco-lodges tucked away in the cloud forests of Bouquet. You're breathing in that crisp, clean air, maybe doing some bird watching, and suddenly the ping of your phone feels like a distant memory. It's less about the pampering and more about the escape from mostly.
Oh, escape from people. I'm sure our listeners who've had too much of their boss would agree with that. But it's not just about spas. Healthy living in Panama also means connecting with nature. Imagine hiking through a rainforest or paddleboarding in the Caribbean Sea. You're getting your exercise without even realizing it. You're just having too much fun. Wow.
Without even realizing it. Sounds like your kind of workout, Mira. I actually saw a local once doing yoga on a paddleboard in Bocas del Toro. I tried to replicate it. And let's just say the fish got a closer look at my form than I intended. Oops. But seriously, the fresh tropical fruits and seafood in Panama really lend themselves to a naturally healthy lifestyle. Plus, you can find a good cup of coffee anywhere. Which for me, is the ultimate wellness practice.
Oh, coffee now, you're speaking my language. Well, if Panama is about rainforest serenity and urban luxury, St. Lucia takes natural relaxation to a whole new level. Whoa. I'm talking about volcanic mud baths at Sulphur Springs. You literally slather yourself in warm, mineral-rich mud. It's like a spot treatment that Mother Nature cooked up herself. Wow.
The mud baths? I've heard tales. You go in looking like a human, come out looking like a slightly more relaxed swamp monster. I'm certain that our listeners who've tried it can attest to feeling rejuvenated or perhaps just very, very clean. But it's definitely an experience you won't forget.
And the warm waterfalls there? It's pure bliss. And for healthy living, St. Lucia is all about its lush, green landscape. Hiking the pitons, those iconic twin peaks, wow, or just swimming in the turquoise waters. It's a very active kind of relaxation.
I'm not sure my idea of relaxation involves scaling a mountain before breakfast. But I do appreciate St. Lucia's laid-back, island time vibe. There's a certain calm that just washes over you. For people planning their next wellness escape, whether it's the Panamanian jungle or the St. Lucian mud, they should definitely check out Jet Off AI for unique retreat packages.
Oh, great point, Leo. And if you're watching us on YouTube, let us know in the comments, would you rather have a luxury city spa experience in Panama or get covered in volcanic mud in St. Lucia? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think.
My money's on the mud, Mira. It just sounds more like an adventure, and you love those. But Panama also has those incredible private islands in the San Blas archipelago. Talk about getting away from it all. No Wi-Fi. No worries. Just the sound of waves. Well, Almost no Wi-Fi. Oops.
Oh, now that sounds like my kind of digital detox for about an hour. Then I'd be looking for a dance party. But it's true. Both places offer such diverse ways to unwind. Whether you need an energizing tropical boost or a serene escape from reality, they've got it covered. Oh, you could really spend a lifetime exploring the relaxation options, couldn't you?
A lifetime of relaxation sounds exhausting. But yes, from Panama's to ocean accessibility for water sports to Saint Lucia's natural volcanic wonders, there's a lot to explore for healthy living and finding your bliss.
Speaking of finding meaning in life, let's look at a topic that often touches the soul opportunities for religious and spiritual needs. I mean, after all that talk about delicious food, our spirits need sustenance too, right? It's not just about what fills your stomach, but what fills your heart. Oh.
Spiritual sustenance, you say? I thought that was just another name for a really good cup of coffee on a Monday morning. But I get it, Mira. For our next comparison, let's explore how Panama and Saint Lucia cater to those deeper connections. Because let's be real, if you're going to live somewhere, you want to know if they've got your spiritual grocery store stocked.
Well, you always manage to turn anything into a quest for a good brew. But you're right, it's about finding that comfort. Panama, for instance, is a melting pot, and that extends to its spiritual landscape. You find everything there, from grand Catholic cathedrals to synagogues, mosques, and even Baha'i temples, especially around Panama City. It's like a spiritual smorgasbord, ready to welcome anyone with open arms.
A spiritual smorgasbord. Oh, I picture someone walking around with a little plate, picking and choosing different faces for their personal buffet. It's true though, Panama is surprisingly diverse. I mean, considering its history as a global crossroads with the canal and all that international traffic, it makes sense that people brought their beliefs with them. I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama would agree with me. You see all kinds of beautiful places of worship side by side. It's almost as if they said,
Exactly. It's that sense of inclusion, you know? And that means freedom of religion is generally respected. You can practice your faith quite openly. It creates a beautiful sense of community where different groups support each other, or at least coexist peacefully. It's not just about tolerance, it's about seeing each other's humanity, no matter your path. Oh, I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. How these different communities interact day to day.
Coexist peacefully, that's the dream, isn't it? Though I've seen some intense arguments over whose church bake sale had the better cookies. Oh, just kidding, mostly. But speaking of diverse cultures, Saint Lucia, while also deeply spiritual, has a slightly different vibe. It's predominantly Catholic, with beautiful churches dotted across the island, but other Christian denominations like Seventh-day Adventists and Pentecostals are very visible too.
Oh, it's like the vibrant colors of the island extend to its spirituality. The churches aren't just buildings, they're hubs of community life. You'll often hear gospel music, see lively ceremonies, and feel that deep sense of faith woven into the daily fabric. It's less of a smorgasbord and more of a deeply rooted, vibrant garden.
A vibrant garden where everyone probably knows everyone else's spiritual business. No, but seriously, that's what gives smaller communities their charm, right? Everyone is interconnected. There are also smaller Rastafarian Hindu and Muslim communities, which adds another interesting layer to the island's spiritual tapestry. I once saw a Rastafarian elder debating the merits of a local fish stew with a Catholic priest. I thought, this is pure comedic gold.
Only you, Leo, would find a culinary debate to be a spiritual experience. But it speaks to the point that even with different backgrounds, people find common ground. Both countries, in their own ways, provide strong community support for their religious groups, whether it's the lodge, diverse congregations in Panama or the close-knit church families in Saint Lucia, people find belonging.
True. And let's not forget, spiritual growth isn't always about organized religion. Both places offer incredible natural beauty that can be deeply spiritual. Imagine meditating on a pristine Panamanian beach or hiking the pitons in St. Lucia and feeling that connection to something bigger. It's a pretty good alternative to sitting in a pew, if you ask me. Ooh, you can find peace with nature.
Wow. Yes. I mean, I could spend hours just staring at the turquoise waters of St. Lucia, and that feels pretty spiritual to me. It's like nature's own sermon. And for those who prefer something a bit less formal, there are always local groups for meditation, yoga, or mindfulness that are growing in both regions, offering different avenues for inner peace. It really is about personal choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments what your go-to spot for spiritual reflection when you're traveling. Is it a quiet temple, a bustling market, or just your coffee cup? For those planning a longer stay, our website Jetoffe has more articles on community integration, which touches on finding your spiritual home, so you can check that out too.
Aha! Good point, Leo. Because ultimately, whether you're drawn to the historical depth of Panama's diverse face or the vibrant, community-focused spirituality of St. Lucia, both countries offer a welcoming environment for your religious and spiritual needs. It's all about finding what resonates with you. Our current topic, we compare social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity into countries. We're talking about Panama and St. Lucia. I mean, Leo, Panama has always struck me as a truly global crossroads thanks to that famous canal. It feels like a place where everyone's paths just naturally crisscross.
Yes, crossroads is one way to put it, Mir. I'd say it's more like a super busy highway junction where everyone's trying to get to their destination and not always looking out for the other lanes. You see a lot of diversity, sure, but the real question is, does that diversity translate to genuine equality, or just a lot of different people living next to each other?
Oh, come on, Leo. Always with the deep thoughts. But that's a fair point. Panama's vibrant mix of indigenous groups, like the Guna and Dingy AB Bugle, along with Afro-Panamanians and those from European and Asian descent, is truly fascinating. I'm certain that our listeners living in Panama would agree that this blend creates a rich tapestry of cultures. Wow.
A tapestry, you say? I've seen some tapestries that look like they've been pulled from a dumpster. But seriously, while the cultural mix is undeniable, my sharp eye also notices the significant wealth disparities. Ouch. You have glittering skyscrapers right next to communities where basic services are a luxury. It makes you wonder how equal that social equality really feels on the ground.
Well, that's a global challenge, isn't it? But Panama has made efforts, especially in recognizing indigenous land rights and preserving their unique cultures. I find that so inspiring. It's not just about tolerating differences, it's about celebrating them. And their carnival is so colorful. Whoa. It's like a hug from the entire country.
A hug that might accidentally jostle your wallet, Mira. Speaking of vibrant cultures in small spaces, let's look at Saint Lucia. It's predominantly Afro-Caribbean, a real melting pot of a different kind. You have that strong Creole identity. But what about the smaller groups like East Indians or the few remaining Caribs? How do they fit into the social harmony picture there?
Oh, St. Lucia. Now there's a place that just radiates warmth and community spirit. I once saw a documentary about their fish fry on a Friday night. Everyone just comes together no matter their background. It feels like a big family, you know. The emphasis on community cohesion in such a smaller island nation is truly beautiful. Wow.
Yes, and sometimes in small communities, Everyone knowing everyone can lead to its own unique set of social pressures. While that cohesion is lovely, I've observed that some Caribbean nations can be more socially conservative. We're talking about areas like LGBT rights. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Does a tight-knit community always mean universal acceptance for all minorities?
That's a very valid point, Leo. While St. Lucia's overall vibe is incredibly friendly and welcoming, LGBT rights are an area where progress is still needed, much like in many parts of the world. But the local initiatives and grassroots efforts for change are picking up pace, and that's something to celebrate. Oh, it's about opening hearts, even if it takes time.
Opening hearts, or perhaps changing laws. In Panama, while they've come a long way, especially with visible representation, the economic divide often creates a de facto social hierarchy. It's not always about overt discrimination, but rather about unequal access to opportunities for certain minority groups. That's a different kind of diversity problem, wouldn't you say?
Well, I think both countries are on a journey, right? It's about making sure that the beautiful diversity we see on the surface translates into true equity underneath. And for anyone planning to visit or even relocate, understanding these nuances is key to experiencing the real social fabric. If you think this is wrong, please let us know in the comments, because we love hearing your perspectives on our YouTube channel.
True, Mia. And for those planning those journeys, checking out Jet Off A, I for Travel Insights might just help them navigate these diverse social landscapes. It's all about making informed choices.
Absolutely. So, whether it's Panama's bustling multiculturalism or St. Lucia's warm community spirit, both offer unique lessons in diversity. It's less about which is better and more about what kind of social tapestry resonates with you. Wow. Alright, so we're diving into something that makes most people's eyes glaze over faster than watching paint-dried axes: retirement and social rights for long-term immigrants. But don't worry, we're going to make it fun, or at least tolerable. We're looking at Panama and St. Lucia today, two gems with very different approaches. Let's kick things off with Panama's unique taxation system. Wow!
Taxes? Sounds like the punchline to a very long, very unfunny joke. But if it means I can keep more of my hard-earned coffee fund, then I'm all ears. Panama's territorial tax system is pretty famous, isn't it? As in, if you're making money outside their borders, they just wave and say, "Carry on, you busy bee." That's almost as good as getting free Wi-Fi in a cafe.
Panama operates on a territorial tax system, which is a huge draw for expats. This means if your income is earned outside Panama, it is not taxed there. So, if you're a digital nomad or have an online business, you could potentially keep a lot more of your earnings. Think of it as a financial sunbath, but for your bank account. It's pretty sweet, wouldn't you agree, Leah?
Financial sunbath. I like that. My bank account could use a tan. But wait, if you make money inside Panama, they're not going to let you off the hook, are they? They'll still want their slice of the papaya, right? And speaking of slices, St. Lucia, our other contender, operates a bit differently on the tax front. For residents, it's more of a we want to see everything you've got kind of system worldwide income and all. Ouch! No secret coffee stashes there.
Income generated within Panama is taxed, just like anywhere else. But that territorial angle is why so many global citizens find it so appealing. Now, for retirement, Panama also shines with its pensioner due visa. Well, if you're a retiree with a guaranteed pension, you get amazing discounts on everything from flights and hotels to utility bills and even medical services. It's like a VIP pass to your goals in years. Ooh.
A VIP pass to old age. Sounds like they're rolling out the red carpet for seasoned travelers like me, except I'd probably trip over it. Meanwhile, in St. Lucia, while it's a beautiful place to retire, if your idea of retirement involves swaying palm trees and not stressing about discounts, they don't have a dedicated visa program with the same kind of specific, built-in benefits as Panama's pension and due scheme. It's more about the lifestyle, less about the ledger, wouldn't you say?
That's a great way to put it. St. Lucia offers the charm and the slower pace, but perhaps fewer direct financial incentives for retirees compared to Panama. It truly depends on what your retirement dreams look like. Do you want discounts on movie tickets, or do you want to wake up to turquoise waters and a sea breeze every morning, regardless of the price? I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Do you prioritize savings or scenery? Let us know in the comments on YouTube.
Personally, I pick the scenery, but then I complain about the lack of discounts on my morning coffee. Now, let's look at social rights, the safety net, if you will, for long-term immigrants. In Panama, you'll find a mix of public and private healthcare. Most expats opt for private insurance, given the public system can sometimes be stretched thin. It's less about a robust social safety net in the European style and more about personal provision.
That's a very clear distinction. It's about being proactive with your own well-being. And speaking of social safety nets, St. Lucia, being a smaller island nation, has a public healthcare system. But like many places, it's often complemented by private options for those who can afford it. The social fabric there is very community-focused. You might not have extensive welfare programs, but there's a strong sense of local support. It's a different kind of social security, you know.
So, in Panama, you're tax-free for an income can go towards your private healthcare, and in St. Lucia, your sense of community is your strongest social right. It's like comparing a high-tech smart wallet to a really friendly piggy bank. One's efficient, the other's more endearing. Whoa. I'm certain that our listeners, especially those living in either country, would agree that these differences are pretty stark.
Oh, when you're considering a long-term move, it's not just about what you earn, but what you can keep, and what kind of support system is in place, whether it's legal discounts or a warm neighborhood. Both countries offer property ownership for immigrants and access to banking, but it's important to research the specifics for your individual situation. For more detailed information, especially on legal processes, check out Judge of AI for some expert advice.
So, to sum it up without making anyone fall asleep, Panama's tax perks and retiree benefits make it attractive if you're looking for financial leverage, especially with that territorial tax. St. Lucia offers a different kind of wealth, a beautiful, relaxed lifestyle, but with a more standard tax approach for residents and a community-centric social structure. It's a choice between maximizing your dollars or maximizing your zen.
That's the perfect way to put it. Zen or dollars, that's the real question, isn't it? But your personal priorities really dictate which one will feel like home in the long run. We've certainly given our listeners a lot to think about today. Maybe even enough to reconsider their current tax bracket. And that's it for our segment on taxation and social rights. All right, Leo, we've talked about everything from economics to emotional intelligence. But now let's get into something truly vital. How well can these countries cater to our specific quirks and passions? I'm talking about the rate of meeting specific interests in Panama and St. Lucia.
Quirks and passions, Mira? Sounds like you're about to confess your secret obsession with collecting tiny spoons shaped like national monuments. Oops! But you're right. This topic is key. I mean, what's the point of moving somewhere if you can't find a club for competitive napping, right?
Wow, competitive napping. Is that a thing? I might actually excel at that. Oh, but seriously, let's kick off with Panama. When I think Panama, my brain immediately goes to one thing, that gigantic ditch they built. The canal. So, for history buffs or engineering geeks, that's a huge draw, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, Mira. The Panama Canal isn't just a ditch, it's a testament to human stubbornness or brilliance, depending on how much coffee you've had. You got the Miraflores Locks Visitor Center, museums, boat tours. I'm certain that our listeners interested in maritime history or logistics would find endless ways to nerd out there. Wow. Plus, the expat community in Panama City is huge, fostering all sorts of niche groups from investment clubs to salsa dancing lessons. You know, for people who enjoy moving investment clubs.
Ouch. Are you subtly poking fun at my dance moves again, Neo? Oops. Anyway, speaking of moving, Panama's also a paradise for nature lovers. I mean, rainforests like Soberania National Park, bird-watching tours where you can spot exotic feathered friends. Oh, I can just picture myself trying to mimic a chicken call. And for the really adventurous, diving in Coiba National Park must be incredible.
I imagine you trying to mimic a toucan, and it's sounding more like a car alarm with a sore throat. But yes, for ecotourism, Panama offers a rich tapestry. And don't forget the indigenous cultures, like the Gunayala Islands or Mbera villages. You can immerse yourself in their traditions, which is pretty unique. Wow! It's not every day you get to see centuries-old traditions thriving alongside a modern financial hub. The contrast itself is an interest for the observant traveler. You know, like me.
Always observing, aren't we, Leo? I bet you tried to turn a traditional tribal dance into a stand-up routine. So, from rainforests to indigenous communities, Panama really has a lot to offer. But let's hop over to Saint Lucia. When I imagine Saint Lucia, I see those majestic Piton Mountains. Well, for hikers and photographers, that's just an absolute dream. Ooh.
Dream for hikers may be a nightmare for my knees. But you're right, the Pitons are iconic. And for those who prefer their adventures with a little less vertical exertion, Saint Lucia excels in water sports. Sailing, diving, snorkeling around those volcanic peaks. I'm actually curious about what our listeners think about this. Are you more of a mountain climber or a deep sea diver?
Oh, great question. I'm definitely more of a snorkel and float kind of girl myself. But St. Lucia also has a sweet side, literally. Chocolate. There are plantation tours and workshops where you can make your own chocolate. How fun is that? Imagine making a chocolate bar shaped like yourself, Leo.
Mira, if I made a chocolate bar shaped like myself, it would be dark, slightly bitter, and probably have a sarcastic wrapper. But that's a brilliant interest, though. And then there's the St. Lucia Jazz and Darts Festival. Wow, for music lovers, especially jazz enthusiasts, that's a huge annual draw. It speaks to a very specific, refined taste, unlike, say, my taste in street food.
Exactly. So, whether you're into delicious chocolate or world-class jazz, St. Lucia delivers. And the Creole culture, the cuisine, the music, the local art. Ooh! It fosters a truly immersive experience for anyone wanting to delve into Caribbean traditions. It feels so vibrant.
Vibrant, yes. And let's not forget the wellness angle. Those sulfur springs, the volcanic mud baths for people seeking a unique spa experience, St. Lucia has that covered. It's like nature's own little detox, probably scrubbing away years of bad jokes. Oops. So, from Panama's modern metropolis with its diverse expat scene to St. Lucia's natural beauty and rich cultural festivals, both offer distinctive ways to meet specific interests.
Absolutely. Whether you're chasing engineering marvels, rainforest adventures, or volcanic mud baths, both countries have a unique flavor for every enthusiast. Well, it truly shows how diverse the world is and how much there is to explore for every single one of us. Oh, well, dear listeners, this episode marks our farewell for now. After sharing all this info, we're signing off until our next comparison podcast. Please follow the Jet Off AI YouTube channel for more episodes like this. Hit that bell icon to catch our videos the moment they drop and be among the first to listen. We'd love for you to share your thoughts, comments, and critiques below. Reading and responding to them truly brightens our day. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with more. So until then, take care and see you in the next one. Warmest wishes from us.